All right, here we go. Drive time, Tuesday afternoon style. It's hot again today outside. It's about 92 degrees. The sun is shining here in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. Happy Tuesday to you. As it is every day, it's great to have you guys with us on the Drive with Spence Checketts, this radio show that will go for the next 4 hours this afternoon to keep you company around town as you're making your drive around town, maybe making a commute, hanging out with us online, or firing up our mobile app, the ESPN 700 app. However you listen to our program, we very much appreciate it. My name is Spence Checketts. I host this program. Porter Larson producing the show, and a really good guest list today to talk, well, mostly college football on the show. Stuart Mandel released his Big 12 predictions, his Big 12 rankings today. We'll get into that. Stuart, you can count Stuart Mandel among the folks that believe Utah football is taking a step back this year. You can count Stuart Mandel among the people that believe BYU is winning the Big 12 this year. We'll kind of dig into Stuart's rankings on the program today. Formerly a friend of the show. It's been a while since we had Stuart on. We'll get him back soon, though, as we are virtually 2 weeks away from game day for Utah football. 16 days to be exact. Idaho's going to be in town at Rice-Eccles Stadium to take on the Utes for a 7 o'clock kick time. Don't forget, as your home of the Utes, our pregame coverage will begin at 3 o'clock that Thursday with Porter Larson hosting that program. And then the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, will call the game for you, as he has for the past number of years. Hence being called the voice of the Utes. I don't know if you knew that. That's the reason he has that nickname, because he calls football games. BYU and Utah State will do battle, not against each other, but their season begins 2 days after Utah's for Saturday tilts against Utah Tech and Idaho State. AP poll was released yesterday. We touched on it a little bit. Utah comes in at 21. They came in at 21 on the coaches' poll as well. Obviously, it is poll season. It is preseason prediction season that are basically irrelevant, but it gives us an excuse to talk college football, which, of course, is never a bad thing. The latest on what continues to be a pretty dramatic situation about 40 miles down south. Kalani Sitake and Brian Santiago, reportedly not necessarily on the same page, could not come at a worse time on the calendar for them. And mostly rumors, and I don't do my radio show based off of social media rumors. I try to go to websites directly that have good journalists who I trust. Gordon Monson's piece for the Salt Lake Tribune I thought was very, very telling. So we'll get into it today on the program, as college and pro football are basically here. It's a good time of year as we're preparing for the season for Utah and BYU and Utah State. As we get closer to week one of the NFL, we'll kind of move some of our coverage to the pro football side of things. A Wednesday tilt is week one's first game. The NFL schedule this year is going to be spread out a little bit more than it usually is. Roger Goodell gave a little bit of a State of the Union today, talked about expanding overseas, NFL Europe. So we'll get to some of the NFL storylines, going on around the scope of pro football. RSL faces a midweek tilt coming up tomorrow night at 7:30. At America First Field, taking on FC Dallas. Tom Bogert is reporting that RSL is about to sign a 19-year-old player from Orlando. We'll dig into some of those reports on the program today. A weekend tilt for RSL in Orlando, by the way, to take on Orlando FC coming up on Saturday. So 15 matches left, I believe, 15 or 16 matches left for RSL. And, of course, the League's Cup continues as well, the battle for the potential to lift a trophy. RSL's made the quarterfinals. So we'll do a little soccer on the program. Our first guest today will be Gordon Monson himself, live in studio for an entire hour. I always enjoy catching up with my old radio partner, Gordon Monson. We are going to bring you some sound from Utah practice today. A little bit of a, little bit of an observation period for media. So we'll let you hear from some of the defensive players on the show. Reminder, if you're looking for Utah football sound, ESPN700sports.com is where you go for that. After Gordo stops by, it is the triumphant return of Christopher Kamarani. Chris Kamarani college football writer for The Athletic, good friend of the show. Chris is on my podcast with KUTV called Reality Check with Spence Checketts, and as a result of our partnership with them, we are able to replay that for you here in this space. And then the aforementioned voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, will join the program coming up at 4:30 today. So some really good guests to talk about all the storylines that are going on in college football. We'll get you some sound from Utah practice, Gordon Monson, Chris Kamarani, Bill Riley, me, Spence Checketts, all of you, the great listeners. Thank you again for making the show a part of your day, whether you're driving around town, if you're at work on ESPN700sports.com or listening to us on our mobile app. We appreciate it. And the producer of this program is Porter Larson, 16 days away.
What up, what up, what up?
You were up on the hill. I just need a vibes update, dude. You know me. Just hit me with some vibes.
They're good. It was a really nice day out today.
So high vibes.
It wasn't 104 degrees or whatever. We got to see a little bit of practice. They were going through like positional stuff when we were there. By design. They didn't let us see any 11 on 11. Mm-hmm. No schemes and such.
No schemes? We can't do the show if we can't talk schemes.
I know. So we could only really like see what guys look like, who's healthy, who's not, stuff like that.
Okay.
And all in all, though, it's a team that looks pretty ready to go. Still question marks exactly what that looks like as far as the offensive and defensive lines and the personnel they're in, but I think this is a football team that looking forward to kicking off. I think the vibes are still high.
Nice.
But I think they're good with camp being done and game prep starting.
Okay, no schemes, but what about concepts?
None.
No concepts?
Didn't even they kicked us out. Not only did they kick us out, but Morgan specifically like ran over and told us to get the hell out. So,
okay, that's rude.
I mean, he was kind of joking, but he was also serious.
No schemes, no concepts. Just vibes.
Just drills. Just position stuff.
All right.
With little special teams.
Okay. Well, you know me.
But nothing we can uncover.
Big special teams guy over here. You know me.
It's a whole
3 phases.
Yep.
Porter, 3 phases.
It's a whole part of the game.
It is. It is. So we'll bring you some sound from Utah practice today coming up in our opening segment. And then Gordon Monson will join us. But before Gordo stops by, courtesy of our friends at IFA Country Stores on a Tuesday afternoon, it's time now for your opening tip. Now, like any good coach, it's time to update the game plan for a healthy green lawn. As the hot weather continues this month, make sure you're using IFA Step 3 Spring and Summer Lawn Food for healthy turf that stays green every season. IFA's Step 3 Lawn Food, it's the ultimate lawn owner power move. And also, you can help Utah kids start school with confidence. Over 200 kids at the road home need your help with back-to-school clothes, shoes, backpacks, and more. ESPN 700 invites you to be a child's advocate. Visit ESPN700sports.com or appletreeforkids.com for more information and to donate now. All right, it's been pretty interesting to follow preseason polls and predictions to try to understand what people believe Utah football is going to be this year. The fact that they are number 21 in both the AP and the coaches poll is a real sign of the built-in respect that Morgan Scalley has for a first-year head coach. And there are plenty of first-year head coaches in college football, and there are plenty in the Big 12 in addition to that. But there are certain people, a lot of people, that believe this program is going to take a step back while Morgan learns how to do this job for the first time. And while he has been preparing to be the head coach for a number of different years, and most people have believed that this was going to be the eventual landing spot for him, whenever you do something for the first time, it's going to take some time to be very good at it, no matter what it is. If you're changing jobs, you got a promotion. If you're trying to learn how to play golf, whatever it is, you try it for the first time, it takes a minute, even if you've been preparing for this moment like Morgan has. And as we've discussed, you can count me among the people that just refuse to say, like, don't worry about the offensive line. Sorry, like, if you watched this team a year ago, Devin Dampier was great. Wayshawn Parker had a good, solid year. There were other individual players that really stepped up and played well. Bird is your backup quarterback. Jackson Benny kind of burst on the scene. There was no unit in the Big 12 that was better than Utah's offensive line. Period. End of story. You could probably make a case for Texas Tech and their defensive front because when Tech was here, those NFL-type players did do a good job against Utah's offensive line. 2 first-round tackles and 5 total offensive linemen that are playing in the NFL. So we have a lot of people on the show that are like, hey, there's too much being made of replacing that unit. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I don't know what to expect in a lot of different ways with this football team. It's why I keep talking about the curiosity angle. I'm genuinely curious. I try to be curious as a person when it comes to the way I do this job. I try to be curious as it pertains to just the way I live my life. And I'm very curious about what this is going to look like. Am I optimistic? Yes, I am, because I've known Morgan for a long time, and I do believe he is ready for this moment. Can I sit here and tell you that they're going to win 10 games and compete for the Big 12 championship? I can't in all good conscience do that. Okay, so there are plenty of people that believe Utah football is in that first tier of the Big 12. That certainly includes Texas Tech and certainly includes BYU. And I think it's probably time to say certainly includes Houston, who won 10 games a year ago under Willie Fritz and is number 23 in the AP poll. It also might include Arizona with the preseason Big 12 quarterback of the year, Noah Fafita. It might include TCU, okay? At Arizona, at TCU, after the BYU game continues to be the stretch I'm looking at, but you do have to take on Houston, albeit here in Salt Lake City. There's a case to be made that you can see 10 games on the schedule that Utah will be favored to win. Maybe, right? It's very rare in the landscape of college football that a football team goes and wins every game they're favored to win. It doesn't happen all that often. Winning 10 games in this sport is a tremendous accomplishment, and a team that won 11 games last year, if you include the bowl game, just simply has a lot of question marks surrounding it this year, which leads me to Stuart Mandel's Big 12 football predictions this year. And I think Stuart Mandel is a very bright college football writer. I think he does a very good job. He puts in the work. He pays attention to the entire landscape. He's not just a Big Ten or an SEC honk like a lot of the ESPN guys. And if you look at what he is predicting, okay, we'll just kind of go bottom to top here. He has Iowa State as a team. Like if you think Kyle Whittingham took a lot of coaches and players to Michigan, go look at what Matt Campbell took to Penn State. Iowa State was left with nothing. That cupboard is bare. Stuart Mandel has them 2-10 on the season and 0-9 in Big 12 play. Dave Aranda, a good friend of all of us around here with his local coaching ties, and Baylor, Mandel once again believes they're going to be near the bottom, 2-7 in conference, 4-8 overall. Colorado 3-6 in conference, 4-8 overall. Kansas State 3-6, 6-6 overall. Kansas 4-5, as is Cincinnati and UCF. He has Cincinnati going 6-6, UCF 7-5. He has Utah going 4-5 in conference play and 7-5 overall. He has BYU winning the Big 12, going 8-1 in their conference play, and 11-1 overall. Who does he have BYU losing to? Because if he has BYU going 11-1 overall and 8-1 in the Big 12, that means he's picking BYU to beat Notre Dame. And maybe he has Utah beating BYU. BYU's schedule is not all that difficult. Not sure which game he thinks they're going to lose. And then he has Houston at number 2 going 7-2 in the Big 12 and 10-2 overall. Texas Tech 6-3. In the Big 12, 9-3 overall. Then it's TCU, Arizona State, Arizona, Oklahoma, West Virginia. He has Utah finishing 9th in the Big 12 with a 4-5 conference schedule and a 7-5 overall schedule. I have said on multiple occasions that if Utah football wins 8 games this year, year 1 for Morgan Scalley, I actually think that's more than acceptable. Do I want them to win more? Yes, I would like them to win every game they play. As I often talk about when it comes to the way I consume sports in our market, I cheer for all of our teams. And the reason is very simple. It's better for my business. I hope Utah football goes 12-0. I hope they make the CFP. I hope they win a national championship. I hope Devin Dampier wins the Heisman. I hope Morgan wins Coach of the Year. I hope Mark Harlan wins the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay? Let me be clear about what I hope. But as far as what I'm expecting, it's hard for me to refute some of the people that are a little bit skeptical as it pertains to what we're going to see year one. 9th in the Big 12 feels low. 4-5 in conference, and 7-5 I think would leave a lot of people wanting more. Can't we just invent? Can't we just invent like the college football Peace Prize and just give it to Mark? I mean, let's just make a trophy. We'll have a ceremony, and we'll just give Mark Harlan the college football Nobel Peace Prize. That's how it works now, right?
I don't know if you can do that.
Why not?
You're not the president
of FIFA.
You're just not the president.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm awarding Mark Harlan the Drive with Spence Checketts Peace Prize.
I think you can do that.
Can you please get a trophy made for me?
Yeah.
We'll have Mark live in studio. We're just going to have a ceremony because that's the thing. That's the deal. That's the rule. That's the goal. It's been a few weeks since I've launched into my Tucker Carlson, so we'll leave that off air. I would go to the Athletic website. You can read Stewart's piece in depth. And, your thoughts on Utah football being picked to finish 9th in conference, 4-5 with your conference record, 7-5 overall. All right, speaking of Utah football, Porter was up at practice today, so we have some sound for you coming up on the other side. Gordon Monson will be live in studio. Chris Kamarani stops by, as does Bill Riley. Jam-packed, busy Tuesday show, and it's good to have you with us right here on ESPN 700. We are inching closer and closer to game day, but fall camp continues up on the hill for Utah football. 16 days away. We did have some practice, media observation windows today. Porter Larson was there. Once again, the update is no concepts, no schemes, correct?
Nope.
Okay.
We're just watching drills. We're watching some hands stuff.
Some hand drills?
Some, the jugs machines.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, Morgan provided a 20-minute opportunity for media to watch, and during that 20 minutes, they did nothing.
They did some special teams stuff, some punts. We saw a few punts.
Saw some punts, huh? Can I get an update on the trajectory of the ball when it's being kicked?
Actually looks good.
Okay, good.
I think that'll be a unit that has a lot of success this year. We'll see.
Field goal team chemistry right now. Laces out, laces in. Where are we at with the long snap and the holds?
I have, got to look a little closer for the long snap and the holds.
Okay.
But I haven't seen a missed kick yet.
No missed kicks.
Mr. Dylan Curtis,
okay,
freshman. I think maybe be a somewhat of a position battle there, but I have seen very few gaffes with either of the special teams units while we've been able to watch.
Limited gaffes on special teams,
if any.
That's excellent news.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of reports on the physical builds of the players, the off-season conditioning. A lot of people impressed with the college football players for Utah looking strong. Can you please corroborate that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I will say college football players usually look pretty strong.
Then why is this a storyline that hey, you got to check this out. These guys are in shape. Wouldn't it be a bigger story if they were completely out of shape?
It would.
It would be very weird.
As we've seen it Colorado where not saying that guys are out of shape, but they have so many players that are like 135 pounds, 150 pounds, that it's very noticeable when you see images coming from camp. So there's a little bit of attention there. But for Utah, it has a lot to do with Doug Iliasaya out, Steve Saunders in. And yes, there is a noticeable difference on some of the guys. But at the same time, like a strength and conditioning coach doesn't and can't really make that much of a difference in just a few short months, right? That's something that takes a year or so to really set in. But the guys are healthy, and yes, there is a change in composition in some of the fellas. Zero-Way Williams.
A change in composition?
Zero-Way Williams went from looking like a recruit, a big, tall, lanky guy with a lot of promise, to looking like an NFL offensive lineman. That was a lot of his work, but also I'm sure some of Steve Saunders. So, listen, that's part of it. That's part of fall camp. We gotta find stuff to talk about.
So in review, the 20-minute media observation period today revealed no gaffes on special teams, solid trajectory on punts, good body composition, and high vibes. No concepts, no schemes. But that's where we're at.
No concepts or schemes. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, that's a good update. But Porter being up there is good for us because we get to bring you some Utah football sound, which we will do right now. We're going to do some defensive players, and let's start out with a guy who a lot of people are expecting to be not just a very, very good player, but one of the key leaders on the defensive side. Here's defensive end Lance Holtzclaw.
Zach Lake City.
I do. I think it's really creative. I feel like it's a good play on words, and it puts an emphasis on, the defensive line room and guys sitting there trying to get after the quarterback as a whole on our defense.
There's such a tradition of sack masters here. Do you guys feel like a responsibility? You're always in the top. You got tied for second last year in the Big 12 in sacks. Do you feel a big responsibility to keep that tradition going?
I feel like naturally that's just how we practice, that's how we play, and that's just the emphasis of our defense. We're constantly trying to get these big havoc plays, as we call them, just like sacks, PBUs, TFLs, picks, stuff like that. We're constantly sitting there tracking that and trying to get after that. So as a whole, as our defensive line group, as a defense, we're constantly trying to get home. It's a race to the quarterback.
Lance, we've heard a lot of positive things about you and kind of your improvement moving into this year. Where do you feel like you've grown the most, and how has that kind of come about for yourself?
I feel like I've grown a lot, like leadership-wise, and just maturing in the game, and just how long I've been in it, and just seeing things differently, stepping back, and also learning a lot from teaching people, teaching guys that are new to the program kind of the way, and also just teaching young guys how to get into the program, teaching them through the same mistakes and the same things that I've dealt with in the past and in my time of learning. So sitting there giving it to them in the same way is like, guys, just, I promise, trust. I've been right there in your shoes. Nobody wants to hear it, but I promise, guys, it'll show.
Lance, how would you assess the progress of the defensive tackles so far?
Oh, it's great. I mean, Coach Ellis as a coach already is amazing, so that's a no-brainer. But I think it's just the mentality and the togetherness of the rooms together with the DN room and the D tackle room is just constantly on top of each other. We're constantly pushing each other to be better, and it's encouragement all over the place. When we have great times out here, when we have bad times, we're building each other up, and we're having great times. We're sitting here celebrating like there's no tomorrow.
Do you guys have any kind of like friendly competition of who's going to lead the team in sacks?
I feel like we just sitting here trying to run it up, man. I mean, right now we got production charts while we're in fall camp, while we're doing our stats and stuff. So we see our sacks up there, and it's just kind of little slick side eyes to each other, like, all right, I'm coming for you. So it's good. It keeps a lot of good competition up, and it's going to drag into the season.
Lance, what moves have you been working to kind of add to your game this year?
Oh man, I'm working off of everything. I don't want to be a one-trick book by any means. I want to be able to work power. I'm working finesse, working transitions from play-action plays. So I'm going to have a bag that's super, super deep.
Lance, Coach Noakes talked about how there's 4 guys that are kind of established, but he's looking for 1 to 2 more that can get into that 6-man rotation. Who so far is standing out of those 2 that can get in that class?
I mean, all the guys in the room are constantly getting after each other, and Noakes definitely puts pressure on them boys while they're in the room too. They're like, hey man, this guy's over there creeping up on you. You getting some reps right now, but you do this, and this guy's going to be up for you. So it's constant competition. I don't think it's ever combative or anything like that, though. But all our guys, from the young guys to transfer guys, are all over the place sitting there competing.
What have you learned from some of the other guys, that, especially last year with John Henry Daly and Logan Fano, that you might be able to incorporate into your game?
I think it is just coming out fast, man. Being in a role where you're kind of reserve or coming in secondary to the other guys, now you're in this position where you're sitting there and putting yourself in the vision of coming out first and coming out super fast. So I think that's one of the bigger things is starting off really hot and just really, again, focusing on that leadership role like I've been doing this whole offseason, man. Just sitting there trying to be a guy that guys can feed off of and just have the same energy all over the place.
We've heard a lot of
What do I take pride in?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I take pride in making plays. I take pride in my energy on the team and our energy as a whole. I take pride in our toughness. I take pride in the fact that we have pride in ourselves out here. We have pride. We're not going to sit here and let nobody get over on us. We're not going to sit here and just continue to keep beatings. We're out here at practice, and it's teaching guys to have that pride with them. When you guys and you lose, say you lose a team segment or you lose a situational period, you sitting there with your guys and y'all are in the huddle and y'all are getting together and ready to fire back and go get another one. So everybody's hungry.
Lance, from your perspective, what is this offense look like to you?
Oh, this offense, I was just talking to Deb when I was coming out here about some of the plays they were running. I mean, your eyes are going to be all over the place, man, and there's so much that they can do. There's versatility, and this offensive coordinator has just the power and the confidence to go out there and call whatever he needs to whenever he wants to. So I got a lot of confidence in this offense. These guys are developing and, again, becoming super tight with each other, and that love is going to drag them super far.
Lance, Morgan said that tackling has been kind of a point of emphasis for the defense this year, just given how the latter half of last year went. Just what have been the adjustments from you guys on the defensive end to kind of clear up and shore up those tackling issues from a year ago?
I mean, again, there's no other way to really practice tackling other than doing it. You're doing it yourself. So we're just sitting there holding each other accountable overly and just getting guys heavy on the film and older guys that have been here teaching other guys. And, again, it's just help all over the place, man. Guys just helping each other here, there, on the field, off the field, wherever we can.
Every time I hear Lance speak, the thing that comes to mind is young people have so much energy. Do you think that's how he is all the time? Because when we interviewed him at Big 12 Media Day, first of all, I learned that he's a Northeast boy, Boston, Mass. UW transfer, of course. That kid has a tremendous amount of enthusiasm and energy. I wonder if that's how he is all the time.
You got to think so, at least when he's being intentional about something, which it appears everything around football he very much is. There's a reason that he was sent to Washington, D.C. to represent every student athlete in the country for good reason. He's well-spoken, as you mentioned, good energy, and I haven't been around him without that type of feeling, so I think so.
It's very impressive. Very well-spoken young man, does a really good job and expected to be one of the leaders on that side of the football. And we'll continue on with another player, Nate Richie. It feels like Nate's been in the program a long time, and he is now a senior, of course, Lone Peak High School. He will be counted on quite a bit at the safety position this year. So let's continue with some sound, and here's Utah safety Nate Richie.
How is it out there being fully healthy? That must just be an unbelievable feeling.
Oh yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be back, healthy. Just going with the boys. I mean, shoot, no better group than this one, really.
What did you learn about yourself from sitting out as much as last year?
I think I just learned how to really put a lot of positivity into my teammates. Just because I wasn't able to be out there, but I was able to, still affect my teammates who were out there and playing. So.
Coach Odom has said there's a lot of emphasis on tackling with you guys in the safety room. Just how have you seen the group progressing?
Just every day we work it. So just progression. Little day by day, and we'll see what happens.
Being away from the game, what did you miss the most?
Everything. Honestly, just traveling with the team. That's always just fun to be out there with the guys and experience that, going to places and whatnot.
With you and Rob in a similar situation, were you able to kind of commiserate or at least use each other to kind of help continue to grow and stay with the team?
Yeah, definitely. Me and Rob, we hung out quite a bit. We were able to help a lot of the guys out and just hang out with each other because we're in the same position.
Help out how?
Huh?
Help out how?
Sorry?
Help out how?
Yeah, just talking to the guys that were playing, helping them out with game plans and whatnot, techniques, positivity, just encouragement, that kind of stuff.
You've been in this program for a long time. You've seen a lot. Where can you use that to your advantage to either help yourself or help this team as they develop?
I've just seen a lot. I've seen a lot of football, so just being able to understand what offense is throwing at me and help my other teammates, see it as well. And just to ultimately play good defense at the end of the day. I've been here in the culture for a long time. I've known RSMB for a long time. Continue to help establish the culture and help bring others along with me.
To piggyback off of that, how would you describe how the culture in the building has changed with Morgan Scally as head coach?
It's just RSMB. That's the culture. That now everyone emphasizes it. The defense has had that culture for a long time, but it's cool to have everyone on the same page. And so that's honestly the biggest difference. It's just RSMB.
How would you describe the secondary? There's so much talent and experience. You think it could be a strength of the defense?
Definitely a strength. We got guys, we got depth, we got experience. So. I'm excited for what the secondary is going to do this year. Can't wait for everyone to see.
What about the pass rush? Lost a lot of production from last year's team, but how do you think the pass rush stacks up this year?
We got dudes working hard. We got leaders. I just can't wait for everyone to see what happens there as well.
That's my neighbor! Nate, you had one of the best games of your career last year against Texas Tech. What about that performance are you looking to replicate this year?
Just to fly around, have fun, and play with my teammates, do my job. Ultimately, doing your job and having fun and understanding offensive football, that's the biggest thing that leads you to be in there. But, at the end of the day, it's not all about me. I know I had some good tackles that game, but ultimately it's about the team, and we're going to continue to get better and win games this year.
All right. We got to do it. I usually only try to do this once a year, okay? It's usually the jugs machine. And Paul, look at me, Paul. Paul, get on YouTube right now, please. Paul. We know that you're tuned in, Paul. So let's sit down at the desk. Let's open up our internet browser. I'm looking right at you, Paul. We're going to go to YouTube. We're going to search ESPN 700. You're going to sit down, and you and I are going to have a little conversation, Paul. You and me, because you're my guy. You're my guy, Paul. It's usually the jugs machine. So apparently this year, it is players who in the background sound like they're either being strangled and blood-curdling screams are taking place. And let me be clear, I believe that player said, "That's my neighbor."
Yeah.
So let's be very clear about what was said in the background.
That's accurate.
He said, "That's my neighbor." But are we going to do this all year? So they finally take the jugs machine out of the background of interviews, and now it's being replaced by players yelling over the interviews, so it ruins our sound. Is that what we're dealing with?
And Dan Sorensen mentioned this a little bit yesterday, how there's like some catcalling going on, and it's like guys just trying to have fun, right? They're just playing with their teammates and whatnot. I could do without it. But yeah, a guy goes up and does interviews, and players will get right behind the media and kind of tease him and try to distract him and yell his name. And I get it. Let's maybe keep that to a minimum. Or I have an idea. Let's go to the interview room. I got plugins. We got microphones. Makes it a lot easier. But I'm with you.
Keeler. Look at me, Keeler.
No, you're listening.
Come on, Keeler. My guy McJunkin, my guy Junk. Paul, Keeler, my guys. Look at me. Sit down at the desk. Pull up YouTube. Search ESPN 700. Fire up our YouTube channel because I'm looking right at you because you're my guys. Here's the message. Help me help you. That's all I'm asking. Help me help you. Because we're going to be doing this all year. Home of the Utes. We're getting sound. We're doing the thing. We're bringing it to the masses. The highest rated sports soccer radio show in Utah. Help me help you. We have one more player?
We do.
Are there blood-curdling screams in the background?
I think this one will be at least sound better. Nate Richie's also super quiet.
Yes.
So I just had to turn that all the way up, and there's nothing you can do there.
I realized why I feel like Nate's been around forever. His first year in the program was 2020. When Nate Richie joined Utah football, COVID hadn't even happened yet.
Yeah. And he had a great kind of introduction to Utah. Since he's been back, he's had spurts of that, little showings of that, but it's just been an injury bug thing for him.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see him on the field, healthy and ready to go.
Hell of a high school player. His dad played at BYU down at Lone Peak, and he did pick Utah over BYU, and hopefully Nate can stay healthy this year because he's a very, very solid player. All right, last one for this segment. Here is Utah cornerback Eli Reed.
How do you feel like this unit or all of the DBs have kind of stacked up this year?
Man, I feel like every single guy, and rather safeties, corners, linebackers, we're all just bringing a different type of competitiveness to this year, and I can feel it in every single guy we have. I would say that's the biggest thing.
You've been called out for your physicality. Just what is it that makes you so physical on the line of scrimmage?
I would say just the want to beat whoever's across from me. That's the main thing. Never want to get beat. Always want to enforce my will upon my opponent.
Is there anything better than beating your opponent and getting to the quarterback and putting him on the turf?
Ain't nothing better than that. Ain't nothing better than that. That's the best thing.
Do you guys like the nickname Sack Lake City?
I love that name. I mean, you can create some new ones, but I love that name too.
As a cornerback, how would you describe your role as an individual in the secondary?
I would describe it as having an ultra focus, as it being probably, and we all have just as hard roles, but the corner group especially is hard for them because we played the way we play, and it's just we have to come with that competitiveness and elite focus every day.
How has Coach Shaw helped you take your game to the next level?
In every way. That's a great question. Coach Shaw is just an elite mind. Just been doing this for so long too. I'm so glad I've been able to come here for my last year and learn under him.
Utah has the longest streak for pick sixes. Is that preached to you guys? Do you guys talk about it, or is that just something that's more opportunistic in the game?
This is just something that comes with being here and just playing against guys that are going to push you to be the hardest that you can be every single day. And with competing against these guys every day, that'll automatically come, and that just comes with this defense.
How is much versatility in this corner room? There's a lot. You guys have a lot of different size. Just how does it make you guys a better unit as a whole?
Probably makes us the best because every single guy, whether big or small, we all can play any position, I would say, on the field, whether it's nickel, whether we have corners switching to nickel, safety, we can all play everywhere, so it's huge.
How much joy have you seen from Nate Richie just finally being healthy back on the field?
Man, it's great to see. I'm happy he's back. He's going to be huge for us this year.
What do you take pride in as a player, on or off the field?
I take pride in being the best I can be for the guys in my room, I would say, and just showing some experience, I would say, and just bringing that physicality and showing the guys that we can bring this every day.
And as a true defensive guy, someone who's seen Morgan Scally on that side of the ball, and now at the helm of this program, just what has that transition been like, seeing him go and lead this program?
He's major. Coach Scally brings it every day. He challenges the offense to bring it as hard as they can to us every day, and the same with him coming from being a coordinator, which even makes it even harder for us because he knows how to challenge us and how to beat us. So it's huge.
All right, there you go. Eli Reed started his college career at Kentucky. He was a really good high school football player in the state of Kentucky, transferred to Akron before landing at Utah. So there you go. Take an opportunity to remind you that if you're ever looking for Utah football sound, if that's all you want, and I know that's what some of you want all the time, go to ESPN700sports.com for all the sound. It is there at your disposal. Going to bring in Gordon. Gordon Monson is going to join us live in studio today. And before we catch a break, I want to let you know that it is time to start thinking about football, and we're only a few weeks away from the best time of the year. Now's the time to prep your field. Make sure you're using IFA's Step 3 for the weeks ahead when the weather is still hot. But as the dog days of summer give way to fall, it's time to start thinking about Step 4, our fall and winter lawn fertilizer. Either way, you can find out more by visiting ifa.coop online. 1 hour down, 3 hours to go. Gordon Monson live in studio. That's your 3 o'clock hour. 4 o'clock is Chris Kamarani and Bill Riley. Then we'll get to the final hour of the show, and we'll say goodnight at 6 right here on ESPN 700. All right, we got a little PTSD going on. I feel like I'm doing my radio show from, well, I guess that would be 10 years ago, because we've been doing this show for 8 years now. The Big Show with Gordon Monson, my old radio program in the afternoons on a different station during a different time. Because what would happen is my producer, Austin, shout out Austin if you're out there, would bring me on air to start the show. And I would say 60 to 70% of the time, my co-host was not in studio. His name was Gordon Monson. Gordon is set to join us live in studio here coming up, but he is not here yet. He is making his way from the Salt Lake Tribune building. I was able to catch a glimpse of him walking across the street out the window, and my man is not in a hurry. Can tell you, is he here? He's here now.
Yes.
Okay. So Gordon will be making his way in studio. And you know what? Gordon's kind of earned the right to not be in a hurry to go anywhere.
Yeah, why not?
He has made a career out of this ecosystem for probably close to 50 years. My man's been around for a minute. Look at this. Look at this. Having flashbacks. Welcome into the Big Show. I'm your host, Spence Checketts, introing the program.
I heard that. I heard that whole thing. You know, I can't get in the building. They won't let me in.
Well, I'm glad you're here now. I was telling Porter, because Porter's like, I think he's walking across the street. So I was able to peek out the window and watch him mosey on over. But you're a busy guy, right? Didn't you have meetings at the Trib building today?
Yes, I did. And so I wasn't lollygagging. I wasn't doing what I used to do to you.
No, the question is, did you check your mail at the Trib building today?
No, I haven't done that in about 3 years now.
I can remember one day you went in and you actually checked your mail, and there was like a personal handwritten invite to the governor's mansion from like 3 years prior to that you never got.
Oh, man. Yeah. I think you had a phrase that described my attitude, which was something about giving something or not.
Yeah. And you have zero left to give. Zero left to give. But have you been doing something in sports media for 50 years yet? Are you at 50 years?
48.
48 years. Because I'm now at 20, and I feel like you've been doing this for 48 years, man.
48 years. My first interview was John Wooden.
John Wooden was your very first interview. That's really cool.
He was very kind.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Guided me through that.
Yeah.
But, 48 years, Spence. Wow, time is such a weird thing.
It's a mental construct, Gordon. It's not a real thing. We're in the Matrix anyway. This is all simulation. Nothing is real.
Well, I just got cataract surgery, so that indicated to me. I was talking to a certain person, a source, and I said, "Yeah, I got cataract." He said, "Don't old people? Isn't that what old people do?"
Ouch.
I said, "I am old."
The source said that to you?
Yeah.
Was the source Kalani?
No.
Oh. I know you'll never reveal your sources. Nor should you.
Okay.
Well, look,
what cracks me up about that is people say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're making this stuff up." Spence, we never make stuff up. We get it from people. Sometimes it's not absolutely correct, but we're getting it from people who are very close to the situation. I'll say it that way.
I talked about this yesterday because I think your piece that you wrote for the Trib about the Kalani situation takes this to another level because, look, say what you want about Gordon. As I talk about all the time, I have a tendency of standing up for you because I don't like it. Well, I just don't like it when people like you're a very decent, good man. You're a good husband. You're a good father. You've been a good friend. But the personal jabs, and then there's the whole like the Trib is woke. Like, shut up. But you can say what you want about Gordon. One thing that is indisputable is you have relationships, you have sources, and when you write about college football, when you write about BYU, you are talking to people that are aware of exactly what's going on down there.
Yeah. We're not making this stuff up. And there are times when it goes a little awry because, like, remember the whole Chris Hill thing?
Yes.
And we were. I say we because there were two of us in the media who are very close to that situation, getting information from people who were right there. Not necessarily Kyle, and not specifically Chris, but people very close who would know. But then afterward, you look at it and you say, okay, that didn't turn out the way they said it was going to turn out. But you wonder if there was motivation in the deception,
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's kind of difficult to figure out sometimes. But no, we're not making this stuff up.
No, it's funny you bring that up because during crosstalk today with Sean, because we were talking about your piece and I was talking about your sourcing and how I know it comes from places of knowledge and people that know what's going on. And then we did talk about the Witt to BYU situation. Yeah. And look, over the past couple of years, Jim Herman, you remember Jim Herman, defensive line, really good dude.
Yeah.
He's been good to the show. He's a very nice man. But defensive lineman that played with Witt and played with Steve Young. And Jim, I was stunned that he told this story on the show. But last year, Jim joined the show, and he said that he and Steve Young were in New York going to an event. Steve's phone rang, and it was Witt. And Steve put it on speaker, and Kyle said to them, "Good news, I'm coming home." He told them he had taken the BYU job.
Yep.
And then Dr. Hill has joined us in studio. He just wrote a book that I would highly recommend to Utah athletic fans. And he said Kyle informed him that he had taken the BYU job. And then as the story goes, 20 players showed up at Kyle's house. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Hill called Witt and said, "I got to know because I got to get going." And Kyle said, "Give me 1 hour." And during that hour, the players showed up. Maybe some financial promises were made. And then he did the about face and landed back at Utah. But your reporting in the moment was correct, and it's been corroborated by the people that were part of the entire thing.
Yeah, but I'll tell you the heat I took on that one from you don't know what you're talking about. You're making this stuff up. It was interesting. Usually I don't care. The people I care about are the people I care about.
Sure.
I really don't care about this stuff. And you always say, what do you call them? The keyboard warriors.
The internet is where cowards go to feel brave, is what that is.
My point is, in standing up for all of us in this business, there might be a few outliers, but really we don't make stuff up.
Yep.
Usually there's some basis for it that is far beyond just like, oh, this is what I feel like saying or writing today.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's different. It's much different than that. But that's me sticking up for my media brothers and sisters. But that's my experience.
Yeah.
In 48 years, I haven't known a lot of guys who are just out there willy-nilly, just coming up with stuff because they feel like it.
Yeah, the ecosystem has changed a little bit because there's some bad actors that are just showmen instead of journalists, and some of those bad actors get paid hundreds of millions of dollars, so maybe that's the way to go. But it does lead us into the space, Gordon, where Kalani is not a complainer, okay? So if this was like Mike Gundy or Lane Kiffin or one of those babies that always just complains, maybe you dismiss it as a coach just being grumpy. Mm-hmm. Kalani is not a complainer. He wasn't a complainer here as the defensive coordinator for basically a decade, 11 years as BYU's head coach. He doesn't complain. So because he has that equity, when he does speak this way, it means there is something going on. I wonder, what you feel comfortable sharing as far as what you've learned about this whole thing.
He, as far as Kalani goes, I've known Kalani since I covered him when he was a player, and he's everything you just said. Is he perfect? No, he makes mistakes just like all humans do, but he's not that kind of coach. He believes in what he believes in. He loves BYU. He wants to be there. He wants it to work. He wants it to be successful. He wants the components necessary to make it successful. And at BYU, they have a decision to make, or they should have made it by now. I thought they already had. If you want to talk about being at the top level of college sports, then be at the top level, but do what's necessary to make it happen. If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to make the expenditures, if you don't want to give the benefits or the advantages to your football team, then don't do that. You can see why people think it's exorbitant at times, but if you want the benefits of it, you can't just. Those days of Lavelle Edwards when he had Norm Chow and he had Mike Holmgren and he had these great football minds.
Mike Leach,
Mike Leach, Andy Reid came. These are brilliant guys who helped Lavelle do things that he should have been able to do. But that's then. This is now, and you've got to have the stuff in place in order to make it work, and that's what Kalani wants. I was told by someone who would know that it's not like, Kalani wants some big things, but he wants the little things too.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that are just sort of dragging.
Yeah.
And he was told one thing, and he's being presented with something that's different, and that's what fries him.
So and the problem with that, and maybe you know more specifics than I do or most people, I'm quite sure that's probably the case, but, without hearing Kalani say, I'm not getting enough NIL for my players, or without hearing Kalani say, we don't have good enough facilities, or without hearing him say, you promised my assistants something you're not giving them, we're kind of left to speculate a little bit. And I think what's safe to say is Kalani himself is being very well compensated. So I don't know that he's complaining about anything as it pertains to his individual deal. So on the scale of players not being taken care of, assistants not being taken care of, or facilities not being what they need to be, do you know specifics? Do you know exactly what he's referring to?
I know that some of the assistants have been taken care of. I think some of it does come back to Kalani. Beyond just the little things, and some of it may be financially connected.
Okay.
But there are other things, too, that he wants in order for his team to be what he wants it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not all about him. It's not, okay, gimme.
Yeah.
He's trying to make it the program what it was. I was told by a source who knows, who absolutely knows, I'd be shocked if he didn't, because he should, that BYU's players are not compensated to the level that a lot of people think in football.
Yeah.
And that's something that needs to be taken care of a little better. Now, people who hear that might think, oh, man, I'm so sick of these college athletes. They want this. They're all this and that. They're spoiled or whatever. Okay, then feel that way. But then don't celebrate when your team has the athletes and they win championships or they compete for championships, because that's what it takes these days. So you got to decide, what is it you want to be? What is it you want to do? I have heard more about BYU in the last 2 years than I have for years and years, maybe all the way back to the controversy over whether they were national champions in 1984. They have gotten so much positive publicity out of football and basketball that, okay, ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth it to invest what coaches now say they need, not just for themselves, but for their program?
Yeah.
And if you think it's worth it, then go ahead and do it. But don't complain about it, and don't tell your coach, okay, we're going to give you this, and this, and then don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen. And for BYU, a terrific school that is sponsored by a religion, that's not the message you want out there to everyone saying, they don't do what they say they're going to do. They're not telling the truth. They're telling lies. I mean, that's not good. So they need to get this figured out. The question is, will they get it figured out before the season starts? What are we, 2.5 weeks away?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess, and I wrote about this, Spence, that the one bright spot that could come out of this in the short term is, will the players rally around Kalani? Because they love the dude.
Yeah.
Most of them do. Now, there's some that might have their feathers ruffled a little bit, but most of those players love the guy, and he loves them. And so will they rally for him?
Yeah.
And that could be a positive, but only in the very short term, not in the long.
Well, you dusted off the fastball for this one, Gordo. I would encourage people to go to sltrib.com because you came out of the gates on fire. Kalani Sitake is being mistreated by BYU. That's the polite way of saying it. A better way is he's being jerked around by the school. There are more aggressive ways of saying it, but Lord, let us forbear. It's a perfect Gordon Monson opening statement. But, let's hone in on your point about maybe the players not being taken care of, because here's the issue with that. The way I've kind of covered the story is, will it affect BYU on the field this year? Stuart Mandel picked him to win the Big 12 today. The coaches voted them to win the Big 12. Adam Rittenberg wrote this piece this week that Kalani's the most beloved coach in college football. Probably not awesome timing if you're Brian Santiago with that dropping. And, I mean, the honest answer is I don't know. But if part of this is players not being taken care of, then the risk that you do run is affecting the product on the field. Because if the players are also feeling this way, if Kalani's standing up for his players, if you've got a quarterback or a running back or a wide receiver or any of them that have some information about what their peers are being paid elsewhere.
Yeah.
If
And
you
they do.
And if you've had the experience of doing a job and feel like you're doing a good job and you're underpaid for the good job you're doing, it does affect the way you do the job.
Yeah.
So if that's part of the deal, then this could spill over onto the field.
The rep doesn't meet the reality. I mean, that's something that needs to be taken care of. And, I talked to a booster down there, said we're swimming in money.
I remember, and you wrote about that.
Yeah. I mean, so it can be done. Will it be done? That's really what needs to happen. Kalani, this is coming from, not from the horse's mouth, but somebody who may have been a board secretary a couple times.
Okay.
Said that Kalani is royally ticked. And it's not just Brian Santiago. It's the higher-ups, like we said. And Shane Reese needs to get on this and get it taken care of. He's the president of BYU. The question I don't know is, does it leapfrog to church headquarters?
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some people up there, and they say these guys are so busy with other things. He's not sure that they're like the puppet masters that are in charge of all this. So that's the one thing I don't know. I don't know where the buck stops. But wherever it stops, they have to get this taken care of. BYU makes a lot of money off its football program, so much more than any other sport. It swamps basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And so they need, if they're getting these benefits from it, and if they can get more, think about the benefits that come to BYU if they were to win the Big 12 and they were to go to the college football playoff. You can't buy that kind of publicity, especially if your players aren't doing stupid things away from the field. And if they are accomplishing those things, then everybody, not everybody, some people hate winners, but a lot of attention comes to the program. And if it comes to the program, then what's this BYU? Who are they all? What's that thing all about? Oh, the LDS Church. Oh, what's that all about? And they get benefits from that. And that's very important to them up here in Salt Lake.
One of the things you had referenced in your piece is that the football team has to share their indoor practice facility, and sometimes they're asked to exit because of intramural games.
That sounds crazy, but it is true.
You have to be kidding me.
No, that came from people who know. Told me that directly.
If I'm Kalani, that royally pisses me off. You're telling me I have to get the team off the field so a bunch of 5'8" dudes named Dallin can play soccer? Are you kidding me? There's a tremendous amount of Dallins down there, I feel like.
The outdoor practice field is not particularly great. The indoor facility, the turf sucks. There are things that need to be addressed down there, big and small.
Tell me, because I find the dynamic of this going beyond Brian Santiago really interesting. And you know this as well as anybody. The chasm between academia and athletics at universities is nothing new. You get a lot of jealousy from, the highest paid public employee in almost every state is a football coach. In Connecticut, it's a basketball coach because UConn's a basketball school. But more often than not, the highest paid public employee in any state is the college football coach. So then, with Utah's private equity deal, how much of that is going to a hospital that's saving lives? How much of that is going to the English professors trying to mold young minds? I wonder how much of the football dynamic down at BYU is affected by maybe some other areas of the university and people that don't believe resources should go to athletics. Because there are a lot of people, I have some in my family that aren't super comfortable with BYU spending this amount of money on players and coaches and believe it should be allocated elsewhere.
Okay, do you want to win or not?
Sure, yeah.
That's sort of what it comes down to. It's funny because BYU really is kind of an island unto itself in some ways. I knew somebody who worked at church headquarters, and they had some doings with BYU, and that individual told me that working with BYU was one of the hardest things he ever had to do. And I thought, wait a second, is the tail wagging the dog here?
Yeah.
You're up here at the headquarters.
Yeah.
And he's saying, well, that's not the way it always works. And so you got that going on down there with strong-minded people. But, I go back to the famous quote by Bear Bryant. First of all, let me say, I get it. When football coaches are making millions and millions and millions of dollars, I understand the resistance to that. But you have to ask yourself the question. You can't pay in a little and get a lot. It just won't work that way. It's like a business they're afraid to invest in their own people and their own business, and so they're surprised when they don't make profits.
Yeah.
And, well, sometimes you gotta put into it. But the famous quote by Bear Bryant, and you've heard this, Spence, and I'm sure many of your listeners have. It's hard to rally around a math class.
Yeah.
And that's what college football does for universities.
Yeah.
In addition to earning them a whole lot of attention, publicity, and money.
Yeah. Well, look, the reason the coaches are being paid what they're paid is they're worth it. And you can hate it all you want, but it's a simple rule of market value. You know, when you look at what Alabama football meant to Tuscaloosa, Nick Saban probably deserved to be paid $50 million a year.
It's true.
And when you look at what BYU football does for the university and the rest of the sports programs, Kalani deserves to be paid the market rate. And for years, coaches down there weren't paid the market rate. Lavelle Edwards on our show told the story of how he never negotiated a contract. And at times he's like, I wasn't even sure what I was making. And that dude got courted by the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
He could have gone and made generational wealth, but he stayed at BYU because he loved BYU. But the whole messaging of like people love BYU, so they're willing to leave money on the table, it's a different day.
Yes, it is.
You want to keep a guy like Kalani, you got to keep him happy because as Penn State told us, there are plenty of big-time college football programs that would love Kalani Sitake to be their head coach.
Think about what would happen at BYU if Kalani left because of this. Now, some people say, well, just go hire Jay Hill. Well, maybe not.
No, not anymore. I've heard from more than a few people that one of the reasons Jay took that D.C. job is that when Kyle's done there, they think Jay's going to be the guy in Michigan.
Besides, Jay knows what it takes to have a top-notch football program.
Yeah.
And he knows where there are deficits in that regard.
Yeah.
And if BYU's playing this way with Kalani, they're going to play that way with Jay Hill.
Right.
So it's poison. It really needs to get fixed from a philosophical standpoint, from a reputation standpoint, from a standpoint of doing what's right. Do what you said you're going to do. Give Kalani what you said you were going to give him, whether it deals with him personally or whether it has to do with his players, his facilities, his opportunities, whatever it is. If you're going to play ball, then play it.
Yeah. The other thing I find pretty fascinating about this is, and the BYU Sports Information Department, they do a bang-up job. They're very good. They've been good to me. They've been good to our show. We're the flagship home of Utah. But if I want A-Rod, if I want Kalani, Kevin, they'll facilitate it. I think they're very good at their job.
Yes, they are.
It's unlike them to allow the messaging to leak into the public square the way that it has right now. I'm not blaming them because Kalani's the one that's saying all this. It's not Duff's fault. It's not any of their faults. But this is the worst possible time for this to happen. If you have an AD and a coach at odds, figure it out in April, man. Like we're playing football in 2 weeks. Yeah. The messaging has been a little out of their control, which is uncharacteristic.
I was told by somebody down there, and I wish I could give names, but I can't, folks. But these are real people who know that Kalani may have been a little naive. Or naive might not be the right word. Trusting, maybe is the word.
Yeah.
He loves the place.
Right.
He thinks they're going to do what they say they're going to do, you know? And you're right, the timing is not good unless the team can rally around it. But it is also a possibility that it could disintegrate a bit as time goes, especially if they face adversity. Well, if they lose to Arizona, then what happens?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. But this isn't a bet you would want to get involved in. You would want to have everything rock solid because really BYU right now has about as solid a reputation in football as it's ever had.
Yeah.
Even when Lavelle was winning the national championship, there were a lot of people that were just going, yeah, but. Well, BYU now looks legitimate, and that's what people think about them. I talk to people in the media around the country, and they're high on BYU. Not everybody, you know how it is. Some of the folks down there in SEC country or Big Ten country, they think that's the only place where real football's played. But I think on the whole, BYU's reputation right now is as sound as it's ever been.
Yeah.
And why squander that?
Well, and the other dynamic in play, and again, I feel like I have to say this. I've had Brian Santiago on the show 3 or 4 times, and every time I've seen him off air, he's been very nice to me. I don't have a personal anything with Brian Santiago at all. But when he was hired, it was met with a, right? Like, that's the guy. I think a lot of people thought Chad Lewis was kind of being prepared to take over when Tom left. I don't know who else would have been on that list. But I know you know a lot of people down at BYU. You know my family. I mean, I come from a tried and true BYU Blue family. And my sister-in-law played basketball down there. I have friends that played basketball and football. And I heard from a lot of people that were surprised that Brian got the job. Now, as the story goes, he's golf buddies with Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge. And Brian's a basketball guy. Played college basketball at Fresno. He's close with Kevin Young. We know they paid A.J. DeBonsa $4 or $5 million. A.J.'s father, Ace, is about business, okay? So you can feed me the walking line, hey, we weren't the highest bidder. Okay, maybe Carolina offered 5.1 and you offered 5. Sure. Okay, so you can literally make that claim. A.J. DeBonsa he didn't go to BYU because he just wanted to, live in Provo and have that life. He didn't. Now, does Kevin have proof of concept that he can develop pros? Yes, he does. Could that be part of it? Sure. But the financial piece is a part of it as well. Scott Drew, the Baylor head coach. Rob Wright played his freshman year at Baylor, was the Big 12 freshman of the year, signed a contract to come back to Baylor for $1 million. Scott Drew went on the record to say he knows BYU offered him 3. Richie Saunders came back as a 7-figure player. Now, there are 12 basketball players and 105 football players, so of course there's some false parallels here. All of this is to say we know, no matter what they tell us, we know that money is being funneled to the basketball team. How much of that is bothering Kalani?
More than a little. I've had that told to me by people, again, in the know. And that is, and when you think about what BYU, as we said, when you think about what BYU football brings to the university versus what BYU basketball, you can understand why the head football coach would be going, wait a second, this is out of balance. Give me what I need. Give me the tools to bring you championships.
Yeah.
And, so there's always biases in that regard. Brian Santiago is not Mr. Congeniality. Mm-hmm. And so that's why that he ruffles some feathers in that regard. But do the teams win? Do you have the coaches in place to win? Kevin Young was a great hire. So is Kalani Sitake. And so it makes you wonder how Tom Holmoe would have handled this.
Yeah. No, it does, because, and I kind of made this point the other day, like, Brian inherited an excellent job. Mm-hmm. Brian inherited an excellent job, as in no small part because of the work Tom put in during his tenure as AD, where independence was a little difficult to traverse. Tom was able to keep that alive with a good ESPN deal and some crafty scheduling. And Brian steps into this thing where the basketball program is ticking. But look, the football program, to your point, is in as good of a place as maybe it's ever been. 23 wins over the past couple of years. 5 coaches have done that in college football. Kalani's one of them. The basketball team last year went 9-9 in Big 12 play. They finished 10th in the Big 12. They didn't win an NCAA tournament game. So for all the money that's going to the basketball program, and yes, I know Richie got hurt. Calm down. Okay, I understand there were injuries. All of this is to say, like, I think Kevin Young was a good hire, and A.J. DeBonsa was the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. So you have that, and that's not nothing. But you got a 500 team in conference that didn't win an NCAA tournament game. If I'm Kalani, I'm going, well, wait a second. We were in the Big 12 championship game a year ago. Yeah. You're paying this guy all this money. You're paying all these players, and they're 9-9 in conference play and didn't win a tournament game.
Yeah. So it's obvious, and Kalani is human. He's not all about the money, but that don't tell me it's not important to him.
Right.
Spence, it was like back when you and I were doing the show together, and I was making $1 million, and you were making what, 100?
Good point.
So
I was underpaid. And you wouldn't share the spoils.
And you were really mad, and you held that against me for a long time.
It's true.
It's
I should have held out.
You're right.
As the franchise cornerstone.
I should. And you were. I should have given you the $1 million. I'm joking, folks. But anyway, I mean, people compare. People look at the results, and they look at the privilege. They look at the opportunity given. They look at, the tools the building blocks that are in place to be successful. And there's nobody who deserves that more than Kalani Sitake.
Yeah. Last thing, we'll catch a break. This is being framed as Kalani versus Brian. That's how it's being framed.
It's bigger than that.
Okay. So if there is even a piece of Brian picking a fight here, and I don't know if there is, doesn't feel like it's a fight he's going to win.
No. Just like when Kyle and Chris were going at it, Kyle was going to win that fight. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And compare paychecks. I mean,
yeah.
There's usually your winner.
Yeah.
Not always, but usually. And the head football coach is the straw that stirs the drink, as Reggie Jackson once said it.
All right, coming up next, we'll switch gears. Stuart Mandel released his Big 12 predictions earlier today. If you're a BYU fan, you're smiling. If you're a Utah fan, you're probably shaking your head. We'll talk about that coming up next. But my friends at Big O Tires want to let you know that high temperatures mean low prices at Big O Tires. Tires and wheels, including trucks and trailers, brakes, alignments, batteries, oil, lube and filters, routine services and fluids, suspensions and front ends, off-road accessories, shocks, struts, lifts, and level kits. Ask about our Healthy Car Special, packed with essential checkups to keep you road ready all year. Financing options for any budget and any situation ensure you get the best tires at the best price. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires today or visit bigotires.com to find a store near you and schedule an appointment online. All August long, you can save up to $120 instantly on select Nitto, Nexon, and Sumitomo tires. Plus, get a $100 mail-in rebate on purchases of $599 or more when you use your Big O Tires and Service credit card. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Terms apply. See store for details now through August the 31st. More with Gordon coming up next on ESPN 700. All right, Gordon Monson is live in studio. We covered in depth the Kalani Sitake, Brian Santiago, C. Shane Reese, got to get the C in, situation down in Provo.
You know how I feel about those initials.
Indeed. But it feels like it's part of the deal, though, right? Like,
but come on, it's too highfalutin. Knock it off with that crap. You know?
Like during conference talks, it has to be, it's not Russell Nelson, it's Russell M. Nelson, right? You always have to get the... right?
Well, yeah, but should it be that way? No, come on. These are guys. They're human beings. You know, the thing that bugs me about it is that almost every single one has it.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a couple that don't, and it's always refreshing.
Look, the song we were all taught was Joseph F. Smith, Remember the F. And I know there was another Joe Smith involved in the past. We were taught that song. What is the deal with the initial?
I wrote a column about it once, complaining about it, and then I told him to put at the top of my column Gordon A. Monson. But it's just ridiculous. Come on. And then you see certain stake presidents and bishops start doing it.
Oh, really?
What is going on here? Is this some sort of assembly line of ambition? I don't know.
Porter, what's your middle name? I don't think I know this. What's your middle name, Porter?
Porter.
What?
What's your first name then?
We've gone through this.
Well, remind me, because I don't remember what I had for breakfast today.
I don't need everyone knowing my full legal name.
Oh, calm down.
Spencer David Checketts.
It's very much online, so you can find it.
Okay, so can you give us the initial?
D.
So from here on out, you're D. Porter Larson.
Yes.
Like C. Shane Reese.
Doesn't that just sound like you want to punch him in the nose?
Well, I'm gonna stop short of threatening my producer or an LDS ecclesiastical leader, with punching them in the face. Should we just do a segment on what the LDS church needs to change?
Oh, man, believe me, I did that. 20 things that I would change if I was in charge of the church. And I felt like Martin Luther, hammering the letter into the church door. That column, I think, got about as many reads as anything I've ever written.
20 things to change about the LDS Church.
Yeah, 20 things I would change, and I didn't go after the really, really heavy stuff, but there's just stuff that you could change. And I was worried a little bit. My stake president, I was hiding from him for a while, jokingly, and he came up to me and he said, "I don't know if I can say this, but I guess I will." He said,
"Zero left to give."
To tell you the truth, don't quote me on this. But I agreed with almost every one of them.
Your stake president said that to you?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this motivated a Reddit thread. Holy smokes. Gordon Monson discusses his 20 LDS church reforms on Reddit. I hesitate to even pull this up.
No, what was this, 4 years ago?
2022. So this was during COVID when we didn't have sports, and so we were just trying to create content.
Well, that one, I always thought people around here were very passionate about sports. The only thing they're more passionate about is religion, and maybe nowadays politics gets in there too.
Yeah.
Certainly, religion is very front of mind with a lot of people.
They're asking me to donate to access this piece. I donated for years, okay? I thought you took the paywall down, so much so.
They did, didn't they?
All I know is this. When the paywall came down, they're like, hey, here's the link to cancel your whatever. Click on the link, cancel it, boom. The Trib charged me like $80 instantly as my farewell gift to support you guys forever.
Thank you.
Yeah, I cannot. 120 a year?
Donate if you can. Just do what you do. Just give what you can. That's all.
I'm not paying $120 to read your piece on 20 things you would change about the church, Gordon. I'm sorry.
Well, isn't it open now?
It's not.
Oh, wow.
I think,
it's not retroactive. Huh?
Archived articles older than 30 days are only available to donors. How about the $80 you took from me 3 weeks ago, please?
Don't put me in this awkward position.
I'm not. I'm sorry. We will not do the additional 20 things we would change about the church on the show today. I will say,
if you did do that,
yeah.
Remember the old days when the phone lines used to just light up like a freaking Christmas? I think your phone lines would light up, and Porter would be busy. If you ever get really mad at Porter, pull that one out and make him answer all those phones.
Porter, do you want to take some phone calls on things to change about the LDS Church today?
No.
I'm good. D. Porter Larson in there? 876. Just kidding. I'm not giving out the number. We don't take calls on the show. I will.
Have you ever taken calls within the last 5 years?
No. 8 years, by the way. We turned 8 last week. I've been doing the show 8 years, which means I've been doing the show 1 year longer than you and I did the show. Isn't that weird to think about?
We didn't take many calls either, did we?
No.
Once in a while, but
no, remember we had that meeting where I'm like, I don't want to take calls. And you're like, what are you talking? We're taking calls. Look, I find it lazy. I think radio hosts that take phone calls are telling you they're not doing their job. And maybe I'm paranoid about that.
Well, I don't really want to be called lazy, but
no, not you.
Back then, we used to do that. I remember one time, and this is Craig Bullerjack and I were doing the big show before you and I were doing the big show, and we had a guy call in the first 15 minutes of the show. And Craig Bullerjack is one of the nicest people you ever meet, but he's got a dark side.
Sure he does.
You know that.
Absolutely.
He's got a dark side.
Like terrifyingly dark.
Yeah, so Bowler says, let's see how long this guy will hold.
Oh.
He held the whole show until the last segment, and then Bowler said, okay, let's take a call.
He held all show to get on air.
He held the whole show.
So here's my deal with calls. You get an occasional good one, but most of them are horrible. And, I always listen to your show, and I like the way you handled phone calls. But if Pete from Provo wanted to chime in on, Bronco Mendenhall, I'm like, this is boring. I don't care what this guy has to say.
Yeah, but every once in a while you get a call from somebody who really did have a
100
strong point that you, Spence, you could react off of.
100%.
In an entertaining way. But not all of them, no.
No. Porter, Gordon, I feel like, is encouraging us to start taking phone calls on the show. How does that land with you? You'd have to screen.
I'm okay.
You'd have to screen either way.
Yeah, we can do a few.
You want to answer all those? Because I guarantee you that Spence could generate a whole lot of calls if he wanted to.
That's probably the reason I don't take calls. Because of all the people that would call in and say bombastic things. I will say this about the current state of the LDS Church. It's a much different church than I grew up with. Much different church.
Some of the stories you've told me about what you faced growing up, it sounds like it's from a different planet almost.
For sure, because I feel like, I don't know if it's progress. I don't know how you want to label it. But like my son, Connor, who, by the way, turned 25 last week. Think about that for a second. You knew him.
Man.
Yeah, you knew him when he was a kid, like a little kid. Mm-hmm. Like 2 years ago, he was dating a girl, and she decided to go on a mission. And he's like, yeah, we're saying goodbye because she's going on her mission. She's entering the MTC. And then like 3 days later, I called him. I'm like, hey, do you want to go to dinner tonight? He's like, no, I'm going to have dinner at, I don't want to say her name on air, at this girl's house. I'm like, she's in the MTC. He's like, yeah, she's doing it at the house. We can go have dinner.
Oh, the first week or so they do home.
Gordon, when I was growing up, if somebody left for a mission, you're like, he's dead now. I'll never see him again. And you could like write letters and maybe have a conversation on Mother's Day. And now you can FaceTime these kids that are on missions
every week.
Chat with them for like hours.
Are you calling them soft?
What is this LDS church you speak of? It's like 2 hours now. It's almost like a la carte. I have a family member that is diehard that enjoys a latte. I'm like, what are you doing? If I did that back in the day, I'd be castrated. That's aggressive.
That is a little strong.
But you get the point.
If you feels like castrated, then you probably couldn't do other things.
No. That's my fault. I will own that one. It feels a little more a la carte than it used to. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that, but I don't really like that because I think any religion should accept, should take anybody where they are.
Yeah.
And if that means they don't have everything nailed down perfectly, then so what? I mean, we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all live and learn. And so I kind of like it. I like that. And you would too. I think you would like it better now than you did based on some of the stories I hear about the tight-fisted manner in which you were treated at times.
Are you fellowshipping me right now?
I am. Come back. No, I'm not. But I will say this. I mean, you think your dad would be mad at me if I say what the thought that just went through my mind?
Well, I don't know what it is, so just go ahead and say it. This is
do you have a dump button?
No, we don't. Just don't swear. You're good.
No, he said that if he had gone through some of the things you had gone through when he was young.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a very devout man.
Right.
Very dedicated man.
Yeah.
He said if he'd gone through some of the things that you faced, that he's not sure he would have weathered that storm himself.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, we don't need to get maybe we're too deep down the well at this point, but I think a lot of people can relate to that with the way that things used to be, and I think I'll just leave that there.
Yeah, I mean, just be accepting of people and help them along, and that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Don't preach at them, don't hammer them, don't shame them. Don't do any of that stuff.
Are you still writing about the religion from time to time?
Yeah, I did. I did an interview yesterday that will be, I don't know when they're going to post it, but it's a religion piece, and it's a good one. This is a good one.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it. But, I mean, the two passionate things people are really into here, or two of the three, are sports and religion.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I had a friend of mine, Gary Klein, who covers the Rams for the LA Times. He read a couple of my religion pieces, and he calls me up and he says, "You're writing religion?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, I am." He says, "That's brilliant." He thought it was a great move.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I'm still doing sports," but anyway, he thinks tap on what people think about in your community, and those are certainly two of them.
Yeah, when you kind of started to lean into this, I had a lot of people ask me like, "What's going on here with Gordo?" Like, and I'm like, he's branching out, like he just wants to explore other spaces. Because you do run into the fire and brimstone portion of the community that may not appreciate a sports guy chiming in on something that. And look, I want to be clear. People need their faith, man, and I get it. I totally get it, and I'm not judging one way or the other. I'm a how do you get through the day and sleep at night guy. Okay, so whatever that looks like for you, go do your thing. I'm not preaching from some sort of pulpit. But I do feel like there was a portion of our community that was wondering why the sports guy is writing about their religion.
Because I wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
This is my experience in writing about religion, and maybe this is true in sports to some extent too. But what I have found is you got your people over here, way over on this side, a small margin, who think I'm going to go to hell for asking questions.
Right.
I think that's so stupid. But that's what they think. They think I hate BYU. I hate the church. I'm thinking, if I hate the church, why am I paying tithing every year?
Sure.
Why do I go to church every week?
And that's a big tithing check, kids. My man drives a Porsche.
My wife does.
All right.
But anyway, and then on the other side, you have the folks who are haters, who are mad at you for not being critical enough.
Yeah.
But most of the people are in the middle.
Yeah.
They're in that big area in the middle where they have questions too, and they think about these things. And it doesn't mean you hate the church or you hate this or that or the other. It just means that we're all bumping and skidding through life together, and different people have different beliefs, different people have different faith, and mine happens to be LDS. But that's Spence. You know that something like that would never come between you and me,
for sure.
And nor should it with anyone. So just love the guy, love the gal next to you, and let it be.
We're all in the same soup, right?
Wir sind alle in die gleiche Suppe.
There it is.
That's a German saying. Says we're all in the same soup, and I told my kids that and over. And my daughter met a guy from Germany, and she said, "Wir sind alle in die gleiche Suppe." And he said, "What the hell are you talking about?" He said, "That's what Germans say." He said, "I'm German. I've never heard that before." So now my credibility is lost there, I think.
I think it's an interesting dynamic. And look, there's an undeniable tie to sports in our state with the religion as the undertone because of the Utah-BYU rivalry, where a portion of BYU fans feel like their athletic department is a direct extension of their faith system. And they look up at Utah fans as lesser than. And then, the majority, like Alex Jensen, Morgan Scalley, your head coaches are LDS guys at Utah. And then their Utah fans look at BYU as this pious, judgmental group. Say what you want about it. If it makes you uncomfortable, it's undeniably, linked to the sporting culture in our state. It just is.
There are fringes in that regard, too. Most Utah fans are terrific fans.
Mm-hmm.
Most BYU fans are terrific fans. Are there fans over here on the side that are just nuts? On both, yeah, there are, but that too you can let that be. The guy who lived across the street from me, he's passed away now. One of the most spiritual, wonderful, kindest, generous men I've ever known. Huge Utah fan.
So we're talking terrestrial then, not all the way.
Oh boy, now we're going to get into it.
No, I mean, look, I was actually talking to a friend about this recently because he came out with his family for a ski trip and ended up staying here. I think they were here for like 10 days. Unfortunately, wrong year to come out because we didn't have any snow. But we were talking about the kind of dichotomy in our state, really, of a tremendous amount of residents who are LDS, devout members, and then a tremendous amount of residents who have left the church, and it feels like there's like an anti-LDS presence with people that have experienced bad things from the church. And then on the other side, you have people that are still faithful members, and how do you bridge that gap if you live in the same city? And, for me, like, I'm the wrong guy if you're looking for somebody for an anti-LDS stance, because my family continues to be of the faith, and they're very happy, good people, and they've built a really great life. It's just not for me, and that's all right. But if it's not for you, I don't think you have to go all the way to the other side to hate everybody who uses it to build a really happy life. I find most LDS people to be very kind, community-orientated, caring about their family, trying to do the best they can,
Sure. And that's the way most folks are all around. It's the problem is when there is let's put this in a hypothetical, shall we? Let's just say hypothetically that there's a state legislature.
Hypothetically
speaking,
yes,
that happens to be maybe, I don't know, 90% LDS,
mm-hmm.
and then the religious tenets sometimes seep into legal.
Sometimes? Did you say sometimes? Okay.
Now you can understand why people who aren't part of that particular faith have a problem with that.
That's well. I cannot argue with that at all. It's very well said.
And it shouldn't be that way. People should just believe what you want to believe. I don't care what it is. Believe, as long as you're not hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it, but let other people believe the way they believe.
Yeah.
And don't try to do things like, I remember when we first moved here, there was a community in Utah County that wanted to close the city pool on Sunday. And that's just, okay, well, don't go to the pool on Sunday if you don't think you should, but allow people who want to go to the pool on Sunday to go there.
Yeah.
It is America, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the lack of separation between church and state with our government leaders, I think, is a little bit irritating to folks. There's nothing you can really do about it.
But here's the thing: it's counterproductive to the goals of the religion,
mm-hmm.
because it turns people off.
Yeah.
And quit turning people off.
Yeah.
Welcome people in.
Yeah.
To the best of your ability. I don't want to get all scriptural here, but how about love your God and love your neighbor?
Yeah.
And love doesn't mean preach at them and tell them what they have to do or what they can and can't do.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And look, the latest census, I think, is between Salt Lake and Summit County. It's less than 30% LDS now. In Salt Lake City and Park City, there's less than 30% of residents that are LDS. And so if 70% of the biggest county in the state is not of the predominant faith, then you can understand why there's some frustration with the way laws are created and such, if that makes sense.
And I'm not saying that the LDS influence, I have my ancestors, pioneers. They established a terrific place here. And it's a terrific place to live.
Sure,
it is.
Sure it is.
And so there are real benefits to having mostly honest, good people who try to do the right thing around you.
Agreed.
And that's one of the terrific things about living here. But don't tell people who believe a different way what they're lawfully allowed to do.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it.
Good quality of life. It's a good place to own a business. It's a thriving financial community. There are plenty of things. I think I told you this. I'm coming up on my 30-year high school reunion.
Wow.
It's coming up this fall. And so I'm reconnecting with a lot of high school friends I haven't talked to in a long time. And I think 4 of them have said to me, when are you moving home? And I said, I am home. I love living in Salt Lake, man. I'll stand up for Salt Lake City all the time. I'll stand up for the state all the time. It's a great place to live.
I remember you saying that. Both of us could have lived wherever we wanted, and we chose to live here. Now I'm a little longer in the tooth, and I've been here, but you're very well established here. People know you. People listen to you. People think they're your friends, Spencer. You know this. You go down to the grocery store and you talk to somebody who's a listener, and they think that you're their buddy.
Yeah.
And that's because you've been here so long.
Yeah.
It's Because you're so freaking old now.
I'm getting there. I'm looking at 50, man. Just turned 48 this year.
That's amazing to me.
I know, right?
Mm.
One of the coolest I got an email during the 2 years I was off air between our show and this show. And it was from a listener of our show who his father had just passed. And he wrote this beautiful, it was like the nicest thing. And I kept it. I should actually forward it to you. Where he said he and his dad had a business together. And they would drive home every day together and listen to us. And oftentimes would stay in the car when they got home to hear us finish a segment. And so, when I got back on air on this show, he just reached out to say it was just great to kind of hear the voice again and loves when you're on the show because it reminds him of his dad.
Good.
That's the cool stuff,
Well, we used to get that a lot. Now, I don't want to disparage any of my other co-hosts that I was co-host with.
Let's disparage away.
But certainly we got a lot of positive feedback when you and I were doing the show together.
Yeah.
Our biggest trouble was, one, you're smarter than me, and that really bothered me.
I don't know about that, but thank you
for that. But we agreed.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
And you're not an arguer. Some shows people are bantering back and forth, and you never wanted to do that. But there would be so many times when I would listen to what you would say, and I would go, perfect. I can't say it any better than that, But we did get a lot of feedback. Remember when we went out to eat after, I don't know when, it was way back at the beginning, and that listener came up to us and said, "Are you guys getting back together again?"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He was really eager for that.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out that way. But folks, they remember.
Yeah.
And those were good times.
Yeah, they were. I never wanted to do a solo show. I still don't. I just do it because that's what I've been asked to do.
Well, tell them to back the Brink truck up, and maybe I'll consider coming back and doing a show with you.
Well, if your salary in 2008 was $1 million per year, I don't know if we have that in the budget right now.
Well, that may have been a slight exaggeration, Spence, but whatever.
We'll get the message to where it needs to go to see if we can get a mill for Gordon.
Really, it's always good coming in and talking to you because I can see why I can see why your ratings are so freaking high because people enjoy listening to what you have to say, and and I tell people this. They would ask me, and I'd say Spence is really smart. He listen to what he says. He's got reasons for what he says. He knows what he's talking about. Is he always right? None of us are.
Yes.
Or is.
Just kidding.
But anyway, yeah, I think that drives this boat.
No, it's kind of you to say, and I always appreciate your time. But before I set you loose, since I did tease this and we got distracted, which is what we tend to do.
Oops.
So I have found the preseason coverage of Utah football really interesting because you still have some people. And the fact that they're 21 in the AP and the coaches poll means Morgan has some built-in respect from his peers.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Mandel today has Utah finishing 9th in the Big 12, 4-5 in conference, 7-5 overall. That feels low, but it's not unfounded in reason because there are a lot of things. I've said this a million times. I'll probably say it a million more before the season starts. I'm more curious than I am confident. I just don't know what it's going to look like because so many people are doing something for the first time.
The thing that I don't really, it's not so much that, Morgan is going to struggle because it's the first time he's doing things. Although, think about the first time he did a lot of things. It didn't always go as well as it might go 3-4 years from now. I think my wife told me that.
All right. Okay.
Anyway,
No.
It happens where you have to get used to something and get better at it.
That's the first thing that came into your mind about doing something for the first time. Are you serious, man?
I'm trying to be humorous.
Okay, gotcha.
So it flopped. But anyway, can they stop the run, Spence?
Yeah.
Is that,
8th in the Big 12 last year.
Yeah, that's something that I wonder about a little bit. Devin Dampier's a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah, he is.
And they have a fellow there named Bird. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So there are things that I think that they will automatically be good at, and other things that, well, you're right. Curious. We're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
See what it is. But I was a little surprised at that. I thought Stuart was a little hard on the Utes.
Yeah.
With that.
Well, Gordo, great to see you. Love to lease in the girls, and let's do it again soon, okay?
All right. Thanks, Spence.
Gordon Monson, brought to you by Big O Tires. High temperatures mean low prices at Big O Tires. Tires and wheels, including trucks and trailers, brakes, alignments, batteries, oil, lube, and filters, routine services and fluids, suspension and front ends, off-road accessories, shocks, struts, lifts, and level kits. Ask about their healthy car special. They've got great financing options. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires today. Visit BigOTires.com to find a store near you and schedule an appointment. All August long, you can save up to $120 instantly on Nitto, Nexon, and Sumitomo tires. Get a $100 mail-in rebate on purchases of $599 or more when you use your Big O Tires and Service credit card. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Terms apply. See stores for details now through August the 31st. All right, coming up on the other side, Chris Kamarani and then Bill Riley. We'll get to the 5 o'clock hour of the show, and we will say goodnight at 6 on a Tuesday edition of The Drive, and it's good to have you along for the ride right here on ESPN 700. Reality Check with Spence Checketts. Reminder, we record this on Tuesday afternoons. It is released in podcast form on Wednesday, and our new TV window is Wednesday night on both KMYU and KJazz TV. We will play this later on my show, The Drive with Spence Checketts, on ESPN 700, every day from 2 to 6, live for 4 hours, no exceptions. And live in studio, college football writer from The Athletic, friend of the program, friend of everyone, Chris Kamarani. How are you, man? Good to see you.
Reality Check original.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you and Amy Donaldson.
Thank you.
Way back in the day.
This is long overdue.
Yeah, this is long overdue. I wanted you to be the first guest, but you've been a busy boy. We'll leave the personal stuff off air. But Chris is, of course, a good friend of the show. He doesn't like it when I say this, but I think you're as good as anyone in your ecosystem. College, and I'm talking about national college football writers. But let's get some background here. So what we like to do on this show is kind of let our community kind of get to know the people that make up our sports ecosystem. You started at the U, at the Kamarani, grinding.
Yep.
Tell us about your path that's landed you at The Athletic.
Lucky enough to be the beat writer at the Daily Utah Chronicle during the 2008 undefeated football season. That helps. You know, it's, you know, a blind squirrel gets lucky every once in a while. And graduated at the height of the recession. Got denied a job at Apple for stocking shelves because nobody was hiring.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And came back out, was in Northern California for a while, came back out, got my first job in journalism at the Park Record, a biweekly print newspaper up in Park City covering high school sports.
Yeah.
And you know the rest, man. Followed in the footsteps of the greats at the Salt Lake Tribune covering high school sports, RSL, started at the Tribune in 2012. Joined The Athletic in 2019 and been here ever since.
And now your role at The Athletic, I mean, initially you were kind of Utah football centric.
Correct.
Right. And now they kind of allow you to pick and choose what you want to do. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
I'm a roaming guy. I'm a rambler.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, again, I know you don't like it when I say this, but before you and I became friends, I was a huge fan of just your writing and your work. And I can remember my old radio partner, Gordon Monson, was the first person to say, you need to start reading what Chris writes because Chris is very good at what he does. And so it's been fun to kind of watch you grow. And I like that you're in this role where you can kind of pick and choose the stories that you want to write about. Are you enjoying kind of the current situation?
Yeah, it's this, I mean, first and foremost, I consider myself very lucky. I mean, you don't get to this point without, you know, a fair amount of luck.
Right.
And getting the Gordon Monson stamp of approval.
The Godfather.
I will not turn that down. I'll take that every day of the week, twice on Sundays. But yes, it's nice to be able to have an empty canvas, so to speak, in terms of like just searching for interesting stories, whether it's, you know, spur of the moment, viral moments, investigative stuff, enterprise. And it isn't necessarily tied to our state. Now, granted, because I'm here and we have two prominent P4 programs, that's always going to be, you know, within my my bucket of expertise, so to speak. But it's been very cool in recent years to be able to spread those wings.
Well, and one of the things that I noticed pretty quickly is that Kyle Whittingham trusted you in a way that I don't know that Kyle trusted a lot of writers or media members. I mean, it wasn't just that you could get access. I think you were fair. I think he respected your approach and kind of the way that you handled the job. And so I want to start there, and then we'll kind of obviously fall camp is going on. I want to talk Utah football, BYU football, the stuff that's going on in Provo with Kalani. But I wanted to start with Kyle today because I felt like you had a relationship with him that very few media members had. Why do you think that is? Why do you think he, from my vantage point, he trusted you? Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think it helps that Kyle has known me for a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle knew me when I was literally let's date myself a little bit. I was a 21-year-old college newspaper beat writer.
Yeah.
And Kyle was still very young in his career at the time. That was only his fourth full season as a head coach. And I don't know. You know, I don't like to toot my own horn, so I'm not going to blare it here. But I think it helps with people like Kyle when you don't necessarily want to play the game, so to speak. Like you're in, you're out, you're direct. I was lucky enough to work with a lot of great sports information directors. Liz Abel, one of the best, really went to bat for me with Kyle when it came to really personal stories. I think Kyle wishes he didn't talk to me in depth about thinking about retiring back in 2018 because this kind of got the whole ball rolling. He entrusted me to talk to his son Alex about, his fight with depression during his mission and coming back and being kind of a leader in the local space to just be vocal about what it's like to deal with stuff like that. Yeah. And I don't know, just over time, you kind of have to just prove to people that you are good at your job, you're trustworthy, and you're going to do it fair and correctly.
Right. And the other thing that I've always noticed, I mean, you went to the University of Utah, you worked for the Kamarani, but you're not a fan. And I think currently with the media ecosystem, and we've talked about how this kind of came to be, COVID certainly was something that I think allowed teams and properties to do the things that they kind of always wanted to do anyway, namely limit access and kind of propagate their own messaging. And today's day and age, you have fans and bloggers that actually are credentialed and show up to press conferences and ask questions, which I'll never be comfortable with it.
Wearing the hats or the shirts.
Yeah, I still think it's weird. Okay. But I think some coaches like it. I don't know that Kyle ever did. I kind of got this eye roll emoji.
I would say an innate ability to see through the BS.
Yes.
And granted, a lot of that comes with time and experience. And I mean, I think anyone here who works in the market would be the first to tell you that this is not a Philly market. Right. This is not an LA market. We are, for the most part, comfortable enough to let our stars, coaches live fairly private lives, be respectful of what they have going on. But yeah, there have been years where, you have some folks pop in the scene and, they're trying to announce themselves, prove themselves. Yeah. And I just always felt like with someone like Kyle, it always behooved me to just shoot straight, not try to pretend like I'm friends with him, because I'm not. There is still an understanding of this is a professional relationship, right, where if I want to ask Kyle a question about, why his dad is known as the godfather and basically the brainchild of his defense, that has been the reason why Utah's been so good for so long, Kyle will give me an hour on Big Fred. Yeah. And, I guess it's just, the BS detector is strong with him.
Well, and you also, because I have this interesting experience with you of knowing you off air and then doing radio with you, which is a pretty relaxed medium, but you did a story once on RSL bringing Real Madrid to town.
The anniversary.
Yep. And you're like, hey, I'm going to interview you. And dude, it was like a totally different Chris. Like it was a different cadence. It was a different approach. I got off the phone. I was like sweating. I was like, dude, I just experienced journalism, Chris. It's kind of a different thing.
Well, your number 1, 2, 3 goals are to tell the truth, and no matter what kind of a story it is, if it's a serious investigative story with malfeasance, or going down memory lane and talking to your dad about your little sister crying with the peacocks running around at Lakai
while we're golfing.
Like that's just that's a great anecdote.
Yeah. It was a great story, but let's move over into, there's an interesting dynamic, and we'll get to the Kalani Santiago stuff in a minute. But the fact of the matter is, athletic directors and head coaches in college football not getting along is nothing new. And I think we experienced that here in Salt Lake far before they're dealing with what they're dealing with now in Provo. From your vantage point, what were the events that led to Kyle landing in Ann Arbor? Like, now that we have the records request release and the emails, what do you really think happened there?
If we're going to boil it down to brass tacks, Kyle wanted to keep having the ability to come back. A lot of people believe that he earned that right. I think some people, I know a lot of folks at the U were getting frustrated with it. They were worried that Morgan Scalley was getting frustrated with it. And we can't really talk about this subject without talking about the power players behind the scenes, because in college football, you are only going to be as successful as your booster base and whether or not they're satisfied or not. And you could tell that the booster base was kind of getting tired with not having the type of access or having the direct line to Kyle the way they might have hoped.
Right.
And it's this interesting kind of dichotomy of here's this guy who's proven himself over and over again, proven to be one of the best head coaches in the country, even before, the advent of NIL, multiple undefeated seasons, national. I think they finished number 2 in the AP poll in 2008 after beating Alabama, national coach of the year, 2-time Pac-12, champion. And then there's this weird kind of just fog, so to speak, of folks wanting to get more involved. And this is not I wouldn't quantify this as a negative thing. Anytime you have people who want to get involved with your program, that means they care. And these are the type of people that have deep pockets. And anytime you have deep pockets, that means they're willing to splash the cash. Then you can go out and buy more players, buy better players.
Yep.
It's not exactly rocket science. Somewhere along the line, I think the university wanted to change the scenery. They wanted Morgan to step in. And as we talked about, since the public records became public, and I can't remember, man, my brain's fried. Are we thinking was it January? No, sorry, this was March. This happened in December, but the public records came out in March.
That was March, correct, yeah.
End of March. You saw that, there were some stipulations that Utah was pitching to Kyle and his agent about potentially coming back. And they're the type of stipulations where you would think they kind of made their mind up before they even sent the email.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. When I read the counter proposal from Mark Harlan and the University of Utah, I just pictured Kyle giving them a double bird and being like, no way. Are you kidding? And then ultimately, as I've said many times on my show, I feel like Mark kind of wore a lot of this because he was kind of the face of whatever was going on behind the scenes that led Kyle to leaving. But if your big money people are telling you that they're ready for a change, as the athletic director, you're kind of beholden to them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of don't have a choice.
I think so. But again, it's an interesting decision.
Yeah.
Because here's a guy who basically built as we know it, he built kind of the current era of not only the football program, but the athletic department as a whole.
Yep.
I mean, I mean, we can do in honor of JP, we can do the Mount Rushmore thing of Utah sports figures. Kyle's on it.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like you have a guy who's proof of concept, 21 years, only 3 losing seasons, one of which recently had maybe the worst rash of injury luck that we've seen.
No.
For them to want to turn the page, I don't know. It is an interesting gamble, but above all else, and this is the sentiment that I've received from my friends in my life who are either dedicated Utah fans or who are BYU fans who like Kyle and love Kyle. They can't believe that Utah's paying Kyle $13 million over the next 3 years to coach at Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, the way that it all unfolded, of course, Sharon Moore loses his job. Michigan kicks the tires on 3 or 4 other coaches. And then Kyle's there, which, by the way, is a perfect hire for them. Certainly, I think if you were able to see around corners and predict the future that Kyle was going to get that job, maybe you handle it a little bit differently.
A little bit. And like we talked about on the show, the butterfly effect is insane.
Right.
I don't think you'll ever see something like this happen again, ever.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact Utah was not banking on Kyle continuing to coach.
Right.
When they decided to make this move.
Right. And then he gets that job. And so therefore he's able to offer 6 assistant coaches big time raises and get a bunch of good players from Utah, John Henry Daly, Smith Snowden, etc. But let's, for the sake of time, let's move over into the space of what to expect now. And look, I will always be cheering for Kyle. As I say every day, if you want anti-wit stuff, it's not on this show because honestly, I went to school there before you did when it was a basketball school with Rick Majerus in the 90s. I never thought the football program would be what Kyle turned it into. So honestly, I'm grateful for it. And I like Morgan. I think, there's reasons to be optimistic about what he can do this year. But I think the expectation just that this thing is going to roll along the same way when you lose 5 offensive linemen, 2 who were first-round picks, 5 that are going to be playing in the NFL, and a brand new coaching staff that has done this before but not on this level. I don't really know what to expect. I'm kind of approaching the season with curiosity, but what do you expect in year 1 under Morgan Scalley?
I think the fact that Utah came in at 21 in the preseason AP poll goes to show how much respect the AP voters have for Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think it's asking a lot of a brand new first year staff to pick up even where last year's team left off. Granted, It helps a ton having your backfield back.
Yep.
And not only just your backfield, Bird Ficklinen as well, but it cannot be overstated enough how hard it will be to replace that offensive line.
100%.
It was the best offensive line in school history.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're talking about a defense that was not a typical Utah defense last year, that became a sieve toward the end of the year, giving up 300-something yard games on the on the ground to teams like Kansas State, Kansas.
Yeah.
I think the expectations around here are this team will contend for a Big 12 title. And because it's such a parity-driven league, I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility. But if you were to ask me like what a solid year one under Morgan Scalley looks like, considering the amount of drastic change that they've had, I'd say 8-4 is a win.
I think 8 wins would be a win as well. Coach Mack joined the show last week and dropped he needs to win 10 games year one. And I went, whoa, right out of the gates. But let's move over now to really bad timing for BYU to have some sort of disconnect between Kalani Sitake and Brian Santiago, whatever's going on behind the scenes. Of course, Kalani flirts with Penn State, decides to come back to coach BYU and stays in Provo, and told me during the interview during Big 12 Media Days, he just asked BYU to be committed to football. And then he said the answer he received is they absolutely are. And over the course of the past 6 or 7 weeks, he's given a lot.
That's going to be a GIF.
He's given a lot of interviews indicating that promises just haven't been fulfilled. Specifically, what is he referring to? I'm not really sure, but what have you made of this situation?
I was astonished to see Kalani give that interview on the Ben Criddle show.
Very un-Kalani-like,
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he is frustrated with the situation. We don't know what he's been guaranteed by the athletic department, but we know for a fact that the reason why Kalani decided to spurn Penn State and stay was because there were folks involved in this process that are much more important / powerful than Brian Santiago.
Correct.
They got involved.
Yeah.
And justifiably so. It was the right move. But if Kalani is saying this weeks before the start of the season, where a lot of people think BYU can and should contend for a Big 12 title, clearly things behind the scenes are not great.
Yeah.
Shout out to sports information department down at BYU. They're awesome.
Yeah,
They've always been helpful.
They really are.
But opening up an account on Cougar Board, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Lean into it.
Sure.
Athletic directors and football coaches are always going to be at odds.
Right.
You started with what Kyle and Mark dealt with. Kyle and Chris Hill went at it a lot over the years. This is the way it works.
Yeah.
It's the two most powerful people in one department that makes a lot of money going at it.
Yeah.
If Kalani is this aggrieved, then something behind the scenes is clearly going on. And clearly it probably has to do with money.
Yeah.
They might not have enough money like he was promised when he decided to come back. And in this day and age, in order to compete with the Texas Techs, who we've seen in recent years have spent upwards of reported $40 to $50 million in NIL. You can't be half that and expect to swing blows with those guys. You just don't.
And your point about how un-Kalani this is, I think needs to be underscored, because if this was, I don't know, Mike Gundy or Lane Kiffin or one of these babies that is constantly complaining, then you kind of understand it a little bit. Kalani never does this, ever. I mean, 11 years at BYU, over a decade here, and he's just not a complainer. So when he complains, you know that there's some meat on that bone.
Quiet part out loud, but it was loud.
Yes,
and
exactly.
to do it on a BYU local station, so to speak. This is not him saying it to us or ESPN. This is him going on Ben Criddle's show and just kind of letting it loose. The timing is not great, but as Gordon said in the Tribune, you can use this you can let this either consume you or you can use it as a rallying cry.
And the other point, it's a good one. I mean, he said it on Ben's show, but BYU owns BYU TV, and so there are BYU employees that are media members, but usually if you listen to them or watch them, it's everything is rainbows and sunshine.
Rise and shout,
hardcore rise and shout. And they actually covered this. They actually talked about this isn't a good look. Like if you're a BYU fan, this is actually concerning. because BYU is usually very good at controlling messaging.
Very good.
And it really helps that, of course, they're a private institution, so they're not beholden to release some of the things that Utah and other schools have to. But this is very un-BYU-like as well, because now it's in the public square. It's being debated by BYU people. So there's no way this is much ado about nothing. And Brian Santiago inherited, I think, a pretty good job and got the job that a lot of people thought was going to go to Chad Lewis or some others. And I think people were surprised that it was him that he was selected anyway. But most people believe Brian got this job because he's very good friends with Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge. They golf every week. That's on record. Okay. And Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge are thought to be two of the big boosters that bankroll the basketball team. And Brian is a basketball guy. He played college basketball at Fresno State. And look, I don't think you have to be labeled one or the other, because he also said football is the number one priority. But there are a lot of murmurs that, you know, Kevin Young is getting this, and they just paid AJ DeBonsa between $4 to $5 million. Rob Wright, $3 million. Richie Saunders, 7-figure guy. Of course, there are 105 football players. There are only 12 basketball players. So it's kind of a, false parallel to draw. But do you think is it as simple as the basketball team is getting this and the football team is being left behind?
I don't know if it's that simple, but I'm sure it's the starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this goes back to what we talked about on the radio show often in the wintertime. This is the time where if you want to control the messaging, if you want to find a way to quell the flames, come out, man. Go on a radio show. If you're Brian Santiago, give an interview, talk to people, face the hard questions, and figure out and find a way to tamp down the messages on Cougar Board. Might be impossible, probably is impossible, but there's a way to control this, and I don't know if BYU is necessarily going to be able to wrap their arms around it.
During the whole, is Kalani leaving or is he staying, the Penn State stuff, the reports are Brian Santiago was ready to pivot towards Jay Hill making the head coach. Then, of course, Jay goes to Michigan. But you got the exclusive interview with our guy, Cookie Bro.
Jason McGowan. Shout out Jason McGowan, who famously tweeted, "It's time for me to get out of the cookie store and get off the sideline," or something. Love bum.
Was that the main impetus to Kalani coming back, the boosters and donors? Because it doesn't feel like it was the athletic director.
Boosters, donors, the folks on South Temple. But yes, there was a resounding rallying cry that folks knew that they had 12 to 16 hours to get in Kalani's ear.
Yeah.
And that's what they did.
Yeah. And look, if the folks that live in Salt Lake on South Temple that really run BYU want Kalani as the head coach, it seems like this is a battle that Brian Santiago probably doesn't want to take on, because I don't know that if it really is Santiago versus Kalani's going to win this fight. If that's where we're at with it.
Successful football coaches who've proven their worth, and in the case of Kalani, who have such a unique tie and have endeared themselves to the fan base and the culture the way he has, it'll be hard to supplant.
Do you think, last thing, and I'll set you loose on this, because as Gordon's piece, and go to sltrib.com, it was great. Kalani, to me, seems like he'll be able to keep this out of the locker room. Do you think this affects the play on the field at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't
know. No, I think in a weird way, not in a weird way, I think in an honest way, this is him proving to his guys that they deserve to be paid more, and that they deserve to be bigger players on the open market.
Yeah. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for the time. We'll set you loose.
Thanks,
all right.
Man.
Reality Check with Spence Checketts, ESPN 700. Reminder, this will be released on podcast form on Wednesday, televised Wednesday night. We'll catch a break. And coming up next, we'll tell you what you can expect next week right here on Reality Check with Spence Checketts. 16 days from right now, Porter Larson will begin pregame coverage for Utah football at 3 o'clock on Thursday, September the 3rd, as Idaho will be in town. And then he will hand the ball off to the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, who, of course, will call the game. That's why we call him the voice of the Utes, because he calls Utah football games and other games as well. And Bill is our guest on a Tuesday. What's up, man? How are you?
I promise not to fumble the exchange between Porter Larson and myself heading into the opener.
Well, the big question, will he handle the snap and execute the handoff correctly? I don't know that this is on you. It feels like it's on Porter.
Maybe I'm keeping it. Maybe it's an option.
I don't. You very much need to hand the ball off, young man. You do not have the option.
I'm very sure that there's going to be a straight run and a straight handoff. There is no option for you to keep it, Porter.
No audibles, no
Nope.
freedom there.
No,
Nope.
you get 2 hours and then you're handing it off.
That's how this goes. That's how it's gone for quite some time. So is it close enough, Riles, for you to start getting very, very excited for what's ahead?
I am. I'm pretty excited about it. I've started to dig into Idaho just a little bit and to look at some of the early opponents. And, having been out of practice and went to the scrimmage on Saturday and watched some things, it's now becoming much more real. This is not, they're in pads most days now. They're doing longer days at practice and, well, relatively longer. They're not like the olden days where they'd go triple days and double days. But for today's day and age, they're going a little bit longer than they did early in camp. And so it's just, yeah, it's becoming more and more real. And then you flip on TV and you see the promos for the week 0 games that are coming up. It's getting close, Spence, and I'm excited. And on top of it, I'm excited because I think it's going to be a really good year.
I have found consuming preseason coverage on Utah pretty interesting, whether it's preseason polls or podcasts or writers who I like to read. And Stuart Mandel, the latest.
Oh, my gosh.
Right? To give his Big 12 college football predictions, he has Utah finishing 9th with a record of 4-5 in conference play and 7-5 overall. Your thoughts on that? You know Stu well.
I know Stu well. I listen to Stu's podcast weekly with Ralph Russo and Bruce Feldman. I like those guys a lot, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't think he's done a deep enough dive on this team. I understand there's going to be some outside skepticism because the guy that was at the helm for a long time is gone, and he took some talent with him. But there's a lot of remaining talent on this team, Spence. And the other thing you have to look at, too, is the schedule is the first half of the schedule for Utah is very favorable. And that gives a team, just use the offensive line as an example. Talented guys haven't played a lot together. Well, you're going to have a handful of games against lesser opponents to kind of get that synchronicity down just a little bit. So I saw Stu's predictions. Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I would be shocked if that was Utah's record when the season ends. I think being closer to it and knowing what's in the program, and again, he didn't come visit Utah camp. He doesn't have a vibe for what Scally is doing and seeing it. He's doing everything from 10,000 feet. But I think he's a little off on that prediction myself.
Wonder, as a guy who is up there in a way that most of us are not, the ability to observe in the way that most of us are not even allowed to, what you've learned about, let's start on the offensive side of the football, the walking line, of course, as we've talked about on this show, and you've talked about in your podcast, and you've interviewed him as well, as Kevin McGiffin believes in a lot of the concepts that Jason Beck does. So, how much of this is catered to the strengths of their quarterback? Obviously, that's something you have to keep in mind because Devin is so dynamic. But what have you learned now that we're 2 weeks out, having kind of watched some of the stuff as far as what we should expect from the offense and what it's going to look like?
Well, multiplicity is a good term to use because I think Kevin McGiffin has got a lot of ways that he can go with this offense. And I'm not sure there's going to be an overriding philosophy that go. I think because he's got so many weapons to play with, whether that's running the football, whether that's throwing the football, Spence, I think he has the ability to kind of cater that game plan and shift it one way or another week to week and not really miss a beat. Sometimes when you're a really run-heavy team, if you play against a team that's really run-centric defensively and they load up against it, well, you might not be able to throw the ball, and that's not going to be the case for this Utah team. Dampier back for another year, Bird Ficklin backing him up. These are two quarterbacks who are offensive weapons, but I just think Kevin's going to have the ability this year to go in whatever direction, kind of ride the hot hand. If they're really throwing it well, he's got weapons all over the place to distribute the football to. But he's got 3 or 4 really good running backs, too, between Parker and Bray and Chavez Soto. Haleu is beginning to emerge just a little bit. He's a young running back, another young running back. LaMarcus Bell, who was the number 2 recruit out of Oregon, got him, too. So it really, and I say this with all seriousness, I'm not sure I can remember, and I've been doing this for a while, as many varieties of offensive weapons that Kevin McGivern can turn to in a given week. So I don't know what it's going to look like week 1, week 2, week 3. What I know is he's got a lot of different ways he can go.
So we've been discussing this as it pertains to just some of the messaging. I mean, this time of year is when us media schlubs are really desperate to get games so we can get answers to the questions that we all have. And until games are played, because as I say every year, results will create the narrative. And if Morgan is winning games and the team is looking good, then the approach will be stamped with approval, because that's what this whole thing is. Sports remains potentially the only meritocracy in society now, because there's a scoreboard, so we know what it's going to look like. But it does feel like, the way I've described it is calm waters, right? Like, there have been so many fall camps over the past 5-6 years where it was, is Cameron Rising healthy? Who is the quarterback? How healthy is the team? Is Kyle leaving? Is this it? And right, wrong, and different, it just feels like things are pretty calm up there. As someone who's in that building, would you corroborate that?
No, I completely agree. It's not to say there aren't some questions, but I mean, you're at your most important position, you're locked, and you've got a great plan B too. This isn't Cam Rising coming off of multiple injuries. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Devin Dampier's the guy, and he looks fantastic. In Bird Ficklin, we saw glimpses of him last year. He's gotten better too. Are there questions still? Yeah, Morgan even said it yesterday. He said, yeah, we're not completely set on the offensive line yet. He says, but by game 1, I'm going to have my dudes. The good news is, and if you're able to talk to Jordan Gross, he told me, he feels like he's got 7, 8, 9 guys that he could put in a Big 12 game that could start for him and play good snaps. So they're right now trying to figure out who those 5 are. I would guess they probably know who they are, but they're probably just giving it a little bit more time to marinate and let those guys figure out who those guys are, because once they do, you lock those 5 in and let them go. And I would even say, too, and Morgan alluded to this the other day, too, they're still trying to figure out not who their defensive linemen are or their defensive tackles are, but kind of what the rotation is, because Utah always loves to roll 4, 5, 6 defensive tackles through there and ends, too, to keep guys fresh. I think they like the group they have. I think at this point in time in camp, week 3, getting toward the end of camp, frankly, because it ends this weekend, you're just trying to figure out what the hierarchy are. Who are your starting 2? Who are your backup 2? Who are your backup 2 after that? And then you start divvying out reps that way. But back to your original point, yes, this is a camp that has been very even-keeled, very business-like, very upbeat, up-tempo, and there aren't a lot of bad questions, if that makes sense. There aren't a lot of things that would, as a fan, make you go, oh, man, what's this going to look like if so-and-so doesn't play? Because I think they've got great depth, and I feel like this camp's gone really well for Utah.
So Morgan's not going to tell us, what the starting unit will look like on the O-line, and he doesn't have to, and every coach approaches this stuff a little bit differently. My question to you is, do you think he knows? Do you think they know, at this point, 2 weeks out from a game, quite frankly, maybe almost every single position as far as who the starters are going to be at this point?
Yeah, I again, haven't asked him directly, haven't asked Jordan Gross directly either, but I would bet right now, 16 days out, they've got a pretty good idea of who their 5 guys are. Now, I don't know if those 5 guys have been able to be together for all of camp, so they may be getting some other guys some looks at stuff. But I would guess they probably have, because you had all of spring, and just about everybody was here in the spring, and now you've had most of the summer and fall camp. So my guess would be, if I'm hazarding a guess, they probably have a pretty good idea of who those 5 guys are.
So, look, the schedule last year, the final few games where teams were running all over Utah, led to that 8th ranking as far as rush defense in the Big 12. I mean, it wasn't as bad as it was all year long. Or all year long, it wasn't as bad as it was over the course of just a couple of games where things got loose. But I think it's safe to say that that's got to be better this year, right? And so when it comes to stopping the run, what can you share as far as how they're approaching that dynamic?
Well, I'll go back to starting up front with the defensive tackles. They've got a couple of really good studs coming back from a year ago, and Kafusi and Pupu Sepulona, but they went into the transfer portal and grabbed some guys. And so they've got some new faces that are kind of learning this defense. That's where it starts. But when I talk to Sly, Stevenson Sylvester, he knows it better than me because he was a linebacker and played in this defense. He said, it wasn't just one position. It was some people maybe taking bad angles or being not lined up the right way. And so I think those are some of the things that you've got to fix in the offseason. Colton Swan's the defensive coordinator, linebackers coach. I'm sure they've worked on it. But it's really working in tandem. Those guys up front, those tackles have to eat the blocks. And they've got some block eaters now. And then those linebackers, whether it's Hall or Paulu or Reynolds, they've got to fill holes, they've got to get downhill, and they've got to make tackles because you can't let those running backs get to the second and third level because then you're talking about 10, 15, 20. And K-State's, they made that second-string running back from K-State look like, a Heisman Trophy winner in that game. So I think that's been a pretty big emphasis this offseason, and I would guess with an offseason to work on it, that Colton Swan and Morgan Scalley probably have things figured out. But, again, we'll find out as the season goes.
Every time, and we played some sound on the show today, and, was able to interview Lance Holtzclaw at Big 12 Media Day. Of course, he was sent to D.C. as a college football rep. Every time I hear that kid talk, number one, I'm like, why do young people have so much energy? And number two, I'm like, man, this kid is so well-spoken and comes across so well. Obviously, they're expecting a lot from him, both on and off the field. Tell me what you've learned about Lance and what we're expecting from him this year.
Well, I think he's a guy that could be poised to have a big year. Remember last year, John Henry Daly started at the one end position. We talked a lot about Logan Fano because Logan had played a little bit and he was kind of more of a known commodity. John Henry Daly in 2024 played some limited snaps, had 1 sack. We got the opportunity to be a starter, and he exploded with 11.5 sacks. Lance Holtzclaw transferred here from Washington. He's been in the system for a year plus, but he's going to get his opportunity now with Fano and Henry Daly gone. I think he could be one of those guys poised for a big breakout year. Morgan mentioned it the other day. I saw it when I was there. He had a really good scrimmage on Saturday. And on top of all of it, he's such a great kid. He's one of those guys, these guys are 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. Sometimes they remember your name, sometimes they don't. Every time I see that kid at the stadium, at the facility, in the hallway, hey, Bill, good to see you. How are you? One of those things. He remembers the name. He's just a great kid. And he was, of course, one of the guys that went and spoke before Congress this summer, too, when they were having all those hearings on the Save College Sports bill. And, I think he was wedged in between Nick Saban and somebody else. So he was a great representative off the field this summer for Utah football. I think Utah fans are going to be really excited to see what number 15 can do this fall, too.
Nate Richie also spoke to the media earlier today. We did the defensive side of the ball today. And, anytime we can get sound, we like to bring it to everybody. So go to ESPN700sports.com. He was an incredible high school player. And, BYU wanted him badly. It was during that time where a bunch of, ex-BYU players saw their sons commit to Kyle and not Bronco. And I looked it up. I'm like, man, I feel like this kid's been around forever. 2020 was his first year in the program. This was
COVID. He was there the COVID year. Yeah, that was his first year.
Yeah, and if not for injuries, I think we would probably talk about him in a different way than we're talking about him now. But since you're up there, he sounds good. It feels like he's healthy. What are you expecting from Richie this year?
It's funny you mentioned that. I saw him in the facility kind of walking slowly a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, kind of sucks getting old, doesn't it, Nate? And he's like, yeah, and I'm old too. He's been around a minute, but he might be as healthy as he's been since really early in his career, Spence. And Morgan's talked to this, the safety room overall. I think he said this to me last week. He loves the versatility of that safety room, whether it's Richie or Benny or Tillman or Evans. And Nate's been in it and around it. And he's played in this defense. And, probably last go-round here. So I think he's probably really excited to be here. That back end, I think, has got a chance to be really good, not just the safeties. I think the corners, have a chance to be really good this year too.
All right, so when it comes to these opening games of the season, when you have the FBS, FCS thing, I mean, the spread as of now, as far as what I have in front of me, this is FanDuel. Utah's a 34.5-point favorite. Over under 57.5, entertainment purposes only. But you know the deal with some of these games, Bill. Like if it's not 75-0 after 2 minutes, people start to panic. So let's just hone in on the opening game. There's still a couple of weeks away, so we won't do a deep dive on Idaho. I'm sure you have a lot of work to do as it pertains to learning more about them before you call the game. But with such a big spread and a game that's not expected to be close, what should Ute fans be hoping to see? Idaho, just over 2 weeks away now.
Well, I think in a game like that, and we could talk a little bit more specifically about Idaho in the next week or two, Spence, but I think in a game like that, one, you want to make sure everybody gets out of there healthy. It's not a preseason game like they play in the NFL, but it's a very winnable game with many bigger games ahead. So obviously you want to see that. For me, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the offensive and defensive lines because, again, they like the guys they have there, but these guys just haven't played a lot together. So that's what a couple of these early season non-conference games are going to be for, is getting these guys reps together, getting the offensive line and defensive linemen used to playing with one another, especially on the offensive side. So I don't have any doubt Devin Dampier is going to be great. Wayshawn Parker, guys on the outside like Braden Pagan and others. These guys are proven commodities. I want to see, can Utah at the line of scrimmage control the line of scrimmage against an Idaho on both sides of the ball? Can they get pressure with their edges? Can they protect Devin Dampier? Those type things, because, again, those are areas where there's talent. They just haven't played a lot together. So I wouldn't expect an Idaho to come in here and give Utah a big game, but you never know. Every year there's one or two of those 1AA opponents that come in and make a little splash and some noise. But my expectation and the things that I'm going to keep an eye out on, at least the first couple of games, are how those trenches, offensive and defensive trenches, really begin to come together. And really, I think the second week could be big too, because while Arkansas is probably going to be a little down this year with the turnover and coaching staff and the roster and the whole thing, it's still an SEC school, and they still have elite athletes at the University of Arkansas. So week 1 to week 2 will be a big step up in talent for sure, but it won't be a team that's probably an SEC contender. But it'll be a good second test for Utah after playing Idaho in the first week.
And if it's 7-3 after the first quarter, let's just all keep calm and carry on, yes?
Yeah, we've had those before. I can remember games against a Weber State or an Idaho State, and you're up 7-3, and then at halftime it's 35-3.
Right.
So sometimes it just takes a minute. Again, there's no preseason in college football. Even though the preseason in the NFL has gotten so watered down, those guys at least get to go, or they have those inter-squad scrimmages where you bring two teams together for a day and play. You don't have any of that. You're really just going up against yourself for a month in college football. You don't have real live game action. So that's why sometimes those opening games can be, especially first, second quarters and halves, can be a little deceiving and misleading.
All right, last thing before I set you loose, and look, it's just a big story, and it's horrible timing for BYU. If your AD and your head coach are going to have issues, get it figured out in April, not 2 weeks before you're kicking off. And look, it wasn't too long ago that the AD head coach situation up here wasn't great, as we all know, but you know Kalani well. And look, he's just not a complainer, Bill. He just never has been. He didn't complain while he was here for a decade as the DC, 11 years down at BYU. He's just not the guy that's going to air something. And the fact that he has to indicate that he just isn't thrilled with the situation going on down there. They're just over 2 weeks away from playing a game as well. I don't know any of the specifics. We had Gordon on earlier. He was talking to people and wrote a piece for the Trib. But what do you make of the noise that's coming out of Provo? And do you think it will affect the way they're playing at all this year?
I'm like you, Spence. I don't know any of the details on this. I've been so caught up in doing my thing up here. I've read a couple of stories in the Trib about it, and that's really all that I've seen. But to your point, I know Kalani Sitake very well. I consider him to be a friend, not a close friend, but somebody I knew and I've known for 15, 18 years. And he's such a good guy and such a good person. And again, to your point, I've never known him to be a complainer. He just generally kind of keeps those things inside. So for him to speak publicly about something like that it must have really gotten to him. That's all I can say.
All right, buddy. Appreciate the time. It's almost here, so have a great week. And, of course, we will catch up with you soon, all right?
Thanks, Spence.
All right, Bill Riley, voice of the Utes, brought to you today by our friends at Advanced Window Products. Still hot outside. Is your house still very hot, even if you have the air conditioning on? And then during the wintertime, when the temperatures drop, is your house still very cold, even though you have the heater jacked up? Well, number one, you're hemorrhaging money. You're wasting money, and you're not comfortable anyway. And number two, it's your windows. So it's time to get those replaced. And here's the deal. This is the best time to do it, because our friends at Advanced Window Products, our buddy Nate Orchard and Jake Weber, they've got a great deal going on right now for you, which is their summer window special, where you save $2,500 when you purchase 10 windows or more, and discounts can be prorated for fewer than 10 windows. Lifetime warranties. Fall is right around the corner. Maybe you're looking to sell your home before school starts. This will up the curb appeal and allow you to sell it for more while saving a ton of money to get your windows replaced. So do it with our friends at Advanced Window Products. Go to advancedwindows.com or give them a call at 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or more can be found online at advancedwindows.com. All right, 3 hours down, 1 hour to go. Final hour of the show is next on ESPN 700. You know, Lord Huron has a lot of really good songs. I think our Lord Huron library is left wanting. We're going to roll with a few today. All right, it gets going a little bit there. So our Lord Huron library needs to be updated. I'm surprised that with the X96 in the building, we don't have more Lord Huron tracks.
Sorry.
That's all right.
To be honest, I'm not too familiar, so
they're good.
I don't have much
They're
of a
good.
take there.
I'm trying to think if you would like them. I mean, it's not Luke Combs. It's not anyone named Luke or Zach or Brian, because that's the deal right now.
Uh-huh.
Zach Bryan was here in concert, I think, like 2 weeks ago.
He was.
Did you go?
No, I was close enough to campus to hear the concert, though.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
It caused some
Playing some
parking
tennis.
issues. That dude is popular, man. People like that guy.
Yeah, very popular.
Yeah.
Very popular. Talented. Not necessarily my favorite or my cup of tea, but he's pretty good.
Well, like I said, it feels like I don't have enough knowledge to have a take, other than I'm just not a huge country guy. But it seems like all these guys just sing about drinking whiskey and then bring Casey Musgraves on for a verse to ask them to stop drinking whiskey so they can like hang out and date.
Yeah, I need a little more than that.
All right, tell you about my friends at Utah Advocates. Call 801-355-5550 or go to utahadvocates.com. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. Advocates award-winning injury attorneys, simple win. If another driver's negligence leaves you injured with medical bills that you can't pay, you need to call the injury attorneys at The Advocate. The Advocates will take care of your hospital bills. No costly consultations. You never pay a dime out of pocket while the Advocates work on recovering the compensation you deserve. If you're injured while jogging, call the Advocates. If you're injured while walking your dog, call the Advocates. Auto accidents, injured while riding your motorcycle, call the Advocates. If you've been injured in an accident, the Advocates are here to help. They'll fight for you so you can focus on your recovery. You didn't deserve to be in an accident, but you do deserve an advocate. So 801-355-5550 or go to utahadvocates.com. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. All right, Porter, during crosstalk, Sean decided to try to mock me for being a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity as a result of a large drug ring that took place in Pittsburgh out of the Sigma Chi fraternity house, okay? This isn't funny. It's obviously a bad story. But one of their drug mules was a pledge, and they nicknamed him Pablo Pledgekabar, which is objectively a really funny nickname for a story like this. Pablo Pledgekabar is pretty funny.
And apparently he's like an accounting whiz, like a numbers kid.
Oh, wait, have you been following the story?
A little bit.
Oh, okay.
I just saw a tweet about it. And, yeah, he's ringleader of essentially a fraternity cartel, I guess.
Pablo Pledgekabar is pretty funny. It's not a funny thing. Don't sell drugs. Don't do drugs. This is illegal. These kids are in a lot of trouble. But I got a kick out of that nickname. All right, Utah football continues camp up on the hill. Of course, BYU and Kalani Sitake continue their camp down south. In addition, Bronco Mendenhall and Utah State going up in Logan. Porter, we haven't really heard from you much about this whole BYU, Kalani, Brian Santiago story. Obviously, it is a scenario that has to be rectified. I thought Gordon was really good on this today. I'll just reiterate, horrible timing as it pertains to playing football in 2 weeks. I don't know how much of this is a basketball thing. Gordon kind of leaned into that a little bit, though. And we have some clandestine tweets being sent out from people in and around the program. I don't program my show based off of social media rumors, so I don't really give that a lot of juice. It's just, I'll bottom line this once again. Kalani is not a complainer. He just isn't. Never has been at all. And when you have that built-in equity of being more of like a good soldier who's just going to keep your head down and do your job, when you speak up, it means there's something going on. This is more than smoke. There's obviously trouble going down with BYU football right now.
Well, and that's the main part is that Kalani's not bringing this up publicly on a radio show if there's not something there. I think that message boards and the social media stuff can take it in a lot of different directions when they don't really know, right? And a lot of assumptions can be made. A lot of untruths can be kind of turned into rumors that expand and kind of go wild. I think some of that has certainly happened, but the end of it all is that Kalani clearly has something that he's asking for from the administration that he has not received, whether that is personal, whether that is NIL, whether that is assistant coaches. I'm not exactly sure. And yes, when you look across from you and you're seeing a basketball program kind of get what they want, if you will, like it's like your older brother getting everything he wants, and then maybe you're getting the hand-me-downs. You're not necessarily stoked on some of the situations there. That can be frustrating, especially for a head football coach who just had an opportunity to go to a place where he would have had unlimited resources, by all intents and purposes. That's, I think, kind of the bottom line of this situation. Now, can a football team still be good and competitive while their AD and their football coach aren't exactly on the same terms? Well, I can tell you from past experience in, let's say, close circumstances, you can still go out and be pretty damn good at football. So I think that there's a chance that whether this gets settled or not before the season, Kalani and his team are going to go out there and compete and be really good. But it is interesting timing. And I think if you are a power broker at BYU and Kalani is your guy, this is something that should be rectified sooner than later.
Have you listened to Pat McAfee's album at all?
Yes.
You have?
I, purely for like curiosity and essentially so you don't have to, I gave it a spin. It's
okay.
Spencer. Not only is it bad, it's like a lot of it is, I think, created by AI. I think it's very clearly like a plugged it into GarageBand or something and just released it. Lyrically, it's really off-putting, and I don't know. I'm not one who's like a hater of Pat McAfee. I think he can be obnoxious sometimes, but I also think he brings like a really fun energy to game day. I think he just isn't the norm when it comes to sportscasters, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. But this is a perfect example of having people in your circle that can push back a little bit. Pat McAfee has been basically enabled by ESPN and the people around him to just, I think, get out above his skis a little bit, get out in front of his skis a little bit. Now, here's the deal. I never want to, like, if someone's being creative and doing their thing, I never want to say, like, don't do that. Don't go try this. Don't go try to make music. Try to make art. Go do it. If it's really bad, don't release it and then act like you're being hated on for other reasons when it's just not good.
I find delusional confidence fascinating.
Right. Likewise.
I honestly do. And the courage to do something like this is admirable. I'd like to say that out loud. And certainly like the delusional confidence of pro athletes when they allow it to spill over to other areas.
Right.
Like every NBA player wants to be a rapper. Like even Gordon Hayward, Too Big Yo.
Too Big Yo.
You know, like
some of them are decent at it.
Some of the, like Dame Lillard is legitimately talented.
He has a song I have saved on my Spotify because it's good.
Yeah, and look, a lot of rappers think they're basketball players, and a lot of them aren't very good at it. Some are. In order to achieve in life, you do need some delusional confidence. But I'd like to underscore your statement, and I have to be clear, I have not listened to this, and nor do I plan to listen to it.
It's 40 minutes if you're really bored.
But there are videos that you surface on social media platforms that have little pieces and little clips. So, if you're in this space and McAfee has carved out somehow, some way, this lane where he's not just being paid like between 30 to 60 mil per year. That's about to go up to 60 mil per year, but he's retained ownership of his platform and company, which good job, dude.
Right.
Not sure how you were able to pull that one off. But just one of the most underrated things you can have in your life is one person. You just need one.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a brother. It can be a parent. It can be a friend. It can be a coworker that can grab you by your collar and say, don't do that. Everyone needs one of those guys in the group to grab you by your collar and say, this is a bad idea. And I guess when you get to Pat McAfee's level and all of those guys on his show, I mean, he pays their bills.
Right.
Maybe there's nobody in your ecosystem, and maybe there's nobody in your life that is brave enough to tell you no because you are their meal ticket. Maybe that's what we have here, because I have, outside of like his coworkers, like Dan Orlovsky and John Butchiegrass, I've heard nobody be like, hey, this is actually kind of decent. Like, it seems to be a consensus that this is as bad as anything that anyone has ever put out in the music space.
It's truly not good. Regardless of your music taste, it's like there is a form of like pop country that is, I think a lot of it is AI produced, and then they just kind of throw a bunch of cornball lyrics on top of it. And a lot of it is successful and gets a lot of listens and gets a lot of radio play. Even the worst of that is considerably better than subjecting your ears to the 42 minutes of that. And also, here's the other part. Pat, like he's talking about it as if he's like sending this big message about how he's hated but is polarizing. There's nothing in it that's like deep in that way. You are putting off that the polarizing part is from you, and it's intentional. So what are we doing here? I just don't get it.
So I will leave you with a few lyrics from Pat McAfee's hit song Dookie.
Oh no.
I'm all the way in Eugene, smoking on some new green, changing up the routine, feel like a new school dean. Life's pretty cool, G. Gratitude truly. 3 jobs, few means, tank top, blue jeans never change. Crew needs deep shots, few screens, movie star 2 scenes, bank account juicy. Canceled who, me? Boogeyman spooky. Folks watch, who sees, hatin' bleeps, Dookie.
It's at least appropriately named. I'll give him that.
That's so funny, dude. That is awful. Anyway, there you go. We'll leave you with some Pat McAfee depth and some lyrics as we say goodnight for a Tuesday show. Porter, what is coming up on a Wednesday edition of The Drive?
Wednesday edition of the program. We'll get some Utes fall camp updates from Sammy Mora of Ute Zone. Jason Kreis stops by on a game day for Real Salt Lake. We'll have some sound from Utah assistants tomorrow. I'll be up on the hill in the press conference room, by the way, getting some sound from that. And then we'll chat with our buddy Jason Shepard ahead of BYU football as well.
Ooh. The question is, will Shep actually acknowledge that? I love my guy. He was my first full-time producer on radio. There's no one with bigger blue cougar goggles than Jason Shepard.
He doesn't want to talk about it, by the way.
You're being serious, right?
Yeah. I mean, we know the deal. There's, as you talked about with the Pat McAfee stuff, certain people pay in certain bills. So
I'm asking him the question. He can pivot away if he wants. That'll be an interesting guest to have, somebody who typically refuses to talk about anything that could be conceived as negative about BYU. All right, special thank you today to Gordon Monson, Chris Kamarani, and Bill Riley. 3 really good guests to talk college football. If you missed any of it, the website is ESPN700sports.com. Download the mobile app and take us on the go. Check out the podcast page. We got 2 for you. The Drive with Spence Checketts and Reality Check with Spence Checketts. Would appreciate it if you would subscribe to those, rate them, review them, give us all the stars, and say nice things. It actually does help out. For Porter, I'm Spence saying goodnight. Have a great Tuesday evening. We'll talk to you on a Wednesday edition of The Drive. And as always, you can catch it right here on ESPN 700.